Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin. These men spoke up for what they thought was right. From their courage came such documents as the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States. From their willingness to speak what was sometimes unpopular but right, we enjoy such liberties as freedom of speech, the right to keep and bear arms, and freedom of religion. There are those who still wish to oppress our freedoms, and there are still patriots willing to stand up and defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Men like Zeb Bell, who honor our founding fathers and what they stood for. It's now time for Zeb at the Ranch, speaking up and defending your freedoms. Brought to you by Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers and all of the other great advertisers on the program. And now, Zeb Bell.
A friend of mine recently applied for a building permit for a new house, and it was going to be 100 feet tall and 400 feet wide with 9 gun turrets, at various heights, and windows all over the place.
You're not coming through.
I'm not coming through. Okay. Why am I not coming through? I'm now coming through. Okay, they say now I'm coming through. Okay, good. We've had a few problems, but we're getting them worked out. I'll start this over again. A friend of mine recently applied for a building permit for a new house. It was going to be 100 feet tall, 400 feet wide, with 9 gun turrets at various heights and windows all over the place and a loud sound system, outside entertainment system. It would have been parking for 200 cars, and he was going to paint it green with pink trim, and the city council said, nope, ain't gonna happen. So this friend of mine sent in the application again, but this time he called it a mosque. Work starts on Monday. Good morning, everybody. Zeb at the Ranch. Here comes Kate Smith, and God bless America. Have a good day, everyone. Good morning, good morning, good morning. I'm Zeb Bell, and thank you very much for tuning in to Zeb at the Ranch. And, of course, Kate's still going and going and going. She's like the ever-ready bunny this morning. And good morning, everybody. Zeb at the Ranch brought to you by our Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, our major sponsor, and all of our great advertisers, including Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More at 459 Overland and Burley. And our friends at Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. Get on the route service today. Call Kelly and the crew at 734-6969. And, well, we've had some interesting things this morning. What's going on?
Well, you wanted me to play chief engineer, so that's what you get. I was messing with the Gettner. I don't know which one is which, so now I know.
Well, you know, Deanne came walking in very nonchalantly and said, how come you're not on the air? And I said, that's a fair question.
And I'm sitting here at the board, and I'm like, how come I cannot hear him? And because I was messing with some of the dials, and so I kind of figured out which is the receive and which is the send. So are you hearing a little bit better?
No. As a matter of fact, and I had other people listen to this yesterday. It's real faint. So maybe when Jerry comes in, you can have him cut me off, too.
Well,
I love that.
Here, I'm upping the volume to you, and that's all that I'm doing right now.
Yeah.
I figured out which one was the volume to you, and I've got it pretty much pegged out.
Okay. But anyhow, you know, it's been an interesting morning so far. And Kate just didn't want to leave. You know, the old girl, you give her a microphone, and she just wants to hog the whole doggone program.
That was me, and I'm sorry.
No. Hey, listen, I used to get really mad about that kind of stuff, but now I'm getting old and senile, and it doesn't bother me like it used to. Oh, I thought it was going to have fun. She just kept rolling, and I was trying to say, hey, listen now, I only pay you for one verse.
Cut out, lady. Cut out.
Get out of here. Oh, how are you this morning?
Well, obviously we know it's been kind of a fun little experimental morning.
That's a lie.
Yeah, I know, right? It's been a good morning, but as soon as, let me know, because I've pretty much got this time.
No, that's all right.
Know if you're hearing better or not.
Okay, hey, listen. The great Gina over at our station, I tell you, it was funny.
Oh, goodness.
Do we have a pledger?
Me, you, or Michael?
I would prefer to pass the ball over to you because I might forget one word in particular. Go ahead.
Okay. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Very well done. Now we're running smooth like a ball going down the bowling alley. Ladies and gentlemen, here we are with the weather forecast now with MichaelRogersWeather.com, brought to you by Cheney Flooring and Home Design, 1228 Oakley Avenue in Burley. Look for their blue door and call them at 678-6945. They've got a slogan that says where your home design needs are aisles apart, not miles apart, and they've got a guarantee too. They can meet or beat any price on flooring, and they give you free in-house consultation to beautify your home. Absolutely. Call them, Kyle and Whitney Cheney, 678-6945. Cheney Flooring, I bit my tongue. Cheney Flooring and Home Design, 1228 Oakley Avenue in Berlin. You know, this is going to be a great day. Good morning, Rogers. Take the doggone weather and do it. Thank you.
There's nothing to really talk about. Your high yesterday in Twin Falls was 104. Jerome was 102. You get to cool off to 97. Yeah, you get to cool off to 97 today, and you're going to stay that way all the way through the weekend. Wouldn't be surprised you got a thunderstorm, even though it's not in the forecast. Still got a lot of juice up there from down toward Phoenix way. So if you see one of those great big puffy clouds forming over the Twin Towers, you might get dumped on. But that happens normal Magic Valley summer weather. Other than that, sunny and hot all the way through, just a little bit cooler. Whether you be in triple digits, you'll be in the upper 90s all the way through Sunday. Enjoy the weather. It's the only weather you got.
There you go. Thank you very much. And I tell you what, MichaelRogersWeather.com, brought to you by our dear friends at Cheney Flooring and Home Design, 1228 Oakley Avenue in Burley. Look for their blue door. Really nice people. Had them on the air last week. Oh, it's going to be one of those kind of days, I can tell, where everything is going to be at random, probably falling off the cliff. So give us a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. And while I'm waiting for your calls, I almost choked to death. Daryl's Cleaners, it's a good day. Daryl's Cleaners, 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. Don't forget that they can clean anything. And, don't shorten the life of your garment by wearing dirty clothes. Get them dry cleaned and lengthen the life of your garments. Absolutely at Daryl's Cleaners, 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. The best with Kevin, Cindy, and the whole crew. They are the best. And speaking of they are the best, I'm also talking about SafeLink Internet, too. Boy, I tell you what, we're glad to be with that program. And I suggest you call them at 677-8000. Summer is the best. And they've got a whole bunch of get 3 for free, a summer special, free router, free 30-day risk trial, free installation. All you have to do is call them, and prices starting at just $19.95 a month at SafeLink Internet. 677-8000. You call them, tell them Zeb sent you. SafeLink Internet, Idaho's #1 choice. All right, your calls are appreciated. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. This is a subject that no matter what I say, I'm going to be criticized on. I already have felt the wrath of certain individuals in Magic Valley and, quite frankly, from around the country, in honesty, because there are some people that think that the Bowe Bergdahl story should be left alone. I am not one of those kind of people that's going to shirk my duty as basically a news journalist in promoting different stories to you that are newsworthy and still have not been answered. I'm going to go into those stories, and we're going to find out the truth, okay? Now, for those that don't like that, and some people have said, Oh, poor Bowe. Leave him alone. Leave his family alone. No, I can't do that. I have had too many people in the military, too many servicemen call me and say, this isn't right. If he walked off his post and he deserted, and those are the charges and the allegations, then he should be court-martialed, he should be punished, and he should serve time for his deeds against his other platoon mates. Now, members of the military are outraged this morning. And I spoke to some of them yesterday. And members of Congress are outraged. I listened to some of them this morning on the news. Family members of soldiers that died looking for Sergeant Bowe Bergdahl are stunned, absolutely stunned. That is the word that was used this morning on the news, that Bergdahl is back on active duty at Fort Sam Houston in Texas, working a desk job. He has, and these are the facts, he has not faced interrogation for deserting his post. And I want to reiterate those terminologies. He has not faced interrogation for deserting his post in Afghanistan. According to most sources of newsworthy reporting, he has not talked to his parents. And why isn't he incarcerated for deserting until tried for charges against him? Those are all fair questions that are being brought up by a lot of people this morning, not just yours truly. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Yes, good morning, Zeb. You know, this guy has openly shown his hatred for America. I mean, what more do you want? When you're serving in the service, you take an oath to protect this country faithfully, no matter what. Not with him. He's going to be rewarded for it. But how many hundreds of thousands of dollars this guy's going to get?
Well, never before, Tony, never before, and I dare somebody to prove me wrong on this, never before has an alleged deserter from our military been treated so well.
Well, he should have been put in the stockade and kept there until this investigation was over. The only thing I can figure that's going on with this guy is that the people up there in Wood River Valley are big supporters of the Obama administration. They pumped millions of dollars into his election, and I think that's where the problem's coming from.
All right, let's call it like it is, and I'm not going to hedge anything this morning, Tony. A lot of people are saying, including retired military leaders like Lieutenant Colonel Ralph Peters, are calling this, and their word is, a whitewash to save face for President Obama and his administration. And I have a tendency to agree with them.
That's right. That's where it's coming from. Big contributors to the Obama administration.
And, you know, let me ask you this. I'm an Idahoan. I've lived here since 1969, okay? And I am not going to take any guff from anybody that says, Zeb, leave that story alone. Poor Bowe, poor family, Bergdahl family in Haley. No, Tony, I'm not doing my job on a talk show that's heard all over the country and respected if I just leave a story alone because this is another Idahoan story. I can't do that. We've got to report the story as it is.
Well, you know what's going to happen. There's going to be a lot of these people that are not going to re-enlist in the military for what's happening here. They're babysitting a traitor. That's what this guy is.
You know, your point this morning is extremely well taken. And one of the gentlemen I talked to yesterday, and I'm not going to mention names this morning because some of these people are going to be coming on the air this next week, and I haven't got clearance yet to mention their names. They have said this is a story that's going to hurt military involvement. It's going to hurt the current administration. It's going to hurt everybody because of this whitewashing effect. I think this story, we don't even know the tip of the iceberg of this story yet.
Well, it's an absolute disgrace.
I agree.
That's all I have to say about it.
Tony, I always appreciate your call. Thank you, sir. God bless.
You're welcome. Bye.
I just want to say this again because I know some of the people are going to call and they're going to send emails, etc. No, I'm not going to back off. To those of you that told me to leave the Bergdahls and the story alone, no. Absolutely not going to do that. Judges, former military leaders are saying that this administration may be pressing the military to lessen charges to make this situation go away. Now, that's newsworthy. And it also shows the lack of respect that this administration has for the military and our future military members. And I'm going to continue reporting this story on this program. Valley-wide Home and Ranch, don't forget on July 18th this week, they're going to have a very nice deal for all the 4-H'ers. I mean, my goodness, 4-H representatives will receive 10% off on project supplies and supplements. They're proud of 4-H over at Valley-wide Home and Ranch, and they want you to come on in. They've got fans, they got fly spray, they've got little manure holders to go in and back up to the stall and just fill everything up. My goodness sakes, they're saying, come on in. They've got all the supplements, they got the clothing, they've got everything for you for your 4-H projects. Stop in there today at your local Home and Ranch store, Valley-wide Home and Ranch, 910 South Oneida in Rupert. Steve, Mandy, the whole crew serving you at Valley-wide Home and Ranch. Caller, stand by. I'll be right with you, I promise. I just got to get in a good word here about Ramsey Heating and Electric. I'll bet you old Keith was standing there at the door just flinging air filters for air conditioners out the door yesterday. Say, okay, just hand me the money. Here they are. Go. We've got 1,000 people standing here. I'll tell you, people were going in there in droves to get new filters for their air conditioners, and I don't blame them. Dirty air conditioning filter will only cause you trouble. Well, stop into Ramsey Heating and Electric today at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley, and call them ahead, 678-0459, so you don't have to have your air filter thrown at you. It'll be right there on the counter waiting for you. Ramsey Heating and Electric, where they provide warm winters and cool summers. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Hi, Dad.
Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good. What can I do for you this morning?
I just wanted to call and say hi. I haven't talked to you in a while.
Well, I've got a feeling this is that little lovely girl that does the Pledge of Allegiance for us, and I hope you, Abby, are doing well. Are you not?
Yeah.
Are you having a good summer?
Yeah.
Well, what are you going to do? Anything special?
I'm going to work with my grandpa today.
Well, good. Well, listen, you have a wonderful summer, and maybe at the end of the month you can come to Lunch Bunch on the 31st, and we'll sit and visit a little bit, okay?
Okay.
All right. God bless you and your family. Take care.
Okay, you too.
All right, thank you. She is a sweetheart. She's won over Gina, myself, everybody, and she does a great job. Caller, I'll be right there. Don't go away. Don't forget our friends at Berry Equipment and Rental. Oh, my. They've been in business over 30 years in the Magic Valley, and they've got the big construction equipment, the man lifts and the skid steers and the excavators, and they got all the Bobcat equipment. They got the tillers and the mowers. They've got everything at all three locations on Twin Falls, Addison Avenue West, and of course in Jerome, South Lincoln, and the new location with Nick and the crew right there at 159 West Highway 30 in Burley. They've got what you're looking for, whether it's to rent or buy. Remember, it's Berry Equipment and Rental. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
What a way to follow such a sweet child.
Isn't she a nice girl? My goodness.
She's a sweetheart.
Yes, she is.
Anyway, on that Bergdahl, Zeb, I was in, and I pretty well, follow some of this so-called desertion and all that. All right, so he deserted. He deserted his fellow soldiers in a time of war. To me, he should have been put in a stockade when he got back, and he should be kept there until time of his trial, which is probably not going to happen because of these so-called great generals, which I have seen, more guts on a buck private.
Well, okay.
And it's not right that he's being treated like this when their soldiers lost their lives looking for that sucker.
Yeah.
And then they're putting up this crap.
Let me just ask you, Al.
Of the United States.
Let me ask you this. There have been people from all over Magic Valley that have criticized me for taking the role and keeping the story going. Well, I'm not the one that's keeping the story going. It's Bowe Bergdahl, the military, and the president that are keeping the story going. But I'm not going to close my eyes to it. I'm not going to just treat it like everything is fine and it's the yellow brick road and he's working now. He's back as full-time on duty assignments and he's working at a desk job. Al, this is a story that I want to know why somebody that is accused of desertion and leaving his post, sending his equipment home, etc., and he's not being punished, he's not even being interviewed.
Well, you know, if they put him back with the unit again, you know what's going to happen?
I don't even want to think.
Did you ever hear of a blanket party?
Yeah.
I'll tell you, when they get done with a blanket party, that feller's not too good a shape. I've seen this happen when I was in basic training. We had a kid that wouldn't take his showers and stuff like that. Well, I told the squad leaders to do something about it. They give him a blanket party with scrub brushes and everything, and you know what? He turned out to be the cleanest soldier we had in the group.
Al, but why is the government, and answer this question, I want this for everybody this morning, why is our government, especially under the auspices of the Obama administration and also the military, they seem to have been dumbed down on this. They're not asking questions. They're not interrogating Bergdahl. They're not interrogating his platoon mates. It's being pushed out under the carpet.
Because we are going down the path of communism and stuff like that. And this is what we're supposed to fight to protect ourselves from. To me, we're being sent down the river without a life jacket, and it's getting sick and tired of these so-called generals that don't have the cojones to stand up for their fellow soldiers and protect them.
I agree.
They're letting them ride all over them and everybody else, and I'm getting damn sick and tired of it.
I agree, Al. Thank you very much for your call this morning. I appreciate it. God bless.
Have a good one.
Thank you.
Watch the buttons from now on.
No, I didn't touch the buttons. I did not touch the buttons. Nobody's going to get blamed for this morning. It was a act of a gremlin. Thank you.
And you didn't have an explosion, too.
Yeah, well, that's coming. Thank you.
That's coming later.
That's coming later. Don't forget Denny's Restaurant, 611 Overland in Burley, and as I said, we're going to have our next lunch bunch there on July 31st, and I can't wait. Man, I love to go through that menu. I love to order breakfast, lunch, or dinner. I love all the food. Man, I love all the food there at Denny's. It is fantastic. Thomas and Terry, the whole crew, they roll out the red carpet not only for us, but for everybody, and they've got gift cards. Someone you love is hungry, give them a gift card to Denny's. They're going to just beam like a Cheshire cat and go, thank you, thank you. It's a great gift. You stop in today. Denny's Restaurant, 611 Overland in Burley. Really great eating. Let's quickly go to the Capital Press Ag Minute. We'll be right back with more of your phone calls. Don't go away.
Today's Ag Minute brought to you by the Capital Press, the West Ag Weekly.
The outlook for Northwest cattle markets remains favorable with high prices supported by low supplies, low feed prices, and continued strong demand domestically and internationally, according to Northwest Farm Credit Services. Both cattle and beef markets remain strong and are expected to find continued support as cattle supplies are exacerbated by expected heifer retention for herd expansion. Northwest Farm Credit Service reported in its quarterly market snapshot released last week. Prices were strong across all classes of cattle at the end of the second quarter, with 550-pound steer calves reaching a record $237 per hundredweight in June. Feeder steers have followed a similar lofty trend, hitting a record high of $199 per hundredweight.
For more agriculture news and information, turn to the West Ag Weekly, the Capital Press, and CapitalPress.com.
There you go, Capital Press. I appreciate those good folks. And also, I'll tell you somebody else I appreciate, and that's Snyder Surplus. The they've got a brand new store. They had a horrific occurrence about a year ago with that fire, and it just destroyed everything. Well, they've got a brand new store. They've got brand new merchandise. They've got friendliest service around at 112 South, 200 West of Rupert. So please, I'm urging you to go on in there. Snyder's Surplus. It's not just a military surplus store anymore. They've got everything in there. And believe me, they're open 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, 9 to 1 on Saturdays. These are people that really care. Snyder's Surplus. You stop over and see them today. Now, I want to reiterate this again. I'm not the kind of a person that's going to take little threats and innuendos over the phone or emails or anything about leaving a story alone. Not going to do that. So don't even bother sending them or calling. Because when I feel that something is newsworthy, I'm going to keep talking about it until we find the end net result and finalize the story. This story is not finished. This story has a lot of unended questions that every American citizen should want to know. And it's not just me. It's major journalists all across this country, New York Times, etc., still asking a lot of questions, and military leaders are wondering why a whitewashing of this situation, why Bergdahl has not been interviewed, why he hasn't been questioned, why his platoon mates have not been questioned. All these things, and people want to know why he is basically back at work right now in active duty at Fort Sam Houston at a desk job. And as I stated a few moments ago, and this came from Lieutenant Colonel Ralph Peters, when he was asked, he said, never before has there been an alleged deserter been treated so well. These are questions that we're still going to try to get answers for. So don't bother with the complaints. Good morning, you're on the air.
Hi, Zeb.
Hi.
You know, years ago, I was in the service, and then later on I was a police officer back before the freeway days, and there was a lot of airmen and a lot of people in the service that traveled on the roads by tumming. And we, as a police officer, we always used to stop and talk to them and see if we could help them out, but we would also ask them for their papers. If they're on active duty and off base, they are supposed to have leave papers. Mm-hmm. If they did not have leave papers, they were deserters. Mm-hmm. And we took them to jail. And then the right service came and got them and took them and took care of them. But, you know, back then, we got $25 for each one of the deserters. Mm-hmm. I can't figure out why there are rules and regulations and why they're not being followed.
All right, let me ask you a question, Jack. Excuse me. There are other questions that need to be answered. Number one, if Bowe Bergdahl is a deserter, and Bowe Bergdahl did not want to represent our United States or our military any longer, and if he went to the other side to talk to and or be with the Taliban, how could he be considered a POW, and how could he be up for all the pay records for the last years of his supposed incarceration? There's so many questions I want answered, and as a journalist, don't I have the right to ask those questions and give you that information?
Everybody has that right, and as a taxpayer, it's my tax dollars that's going to pay his money. And if he is a deserter, he doesn't deserve anything.
Well, okay, but I go back to this again. 5 very horrendous terrorist killers were given back to their friends and buddies, and you know they're going to kill again, and it might even be here on American soil, for Bowe Bergdahl. And if Bowe Bergdahl is a deserter, and all the case points to that he is, but he hasn't been tried yet, nobody's asked him any questions, nobody's interrogated interrogated him. Nobody's interrogated the rest of the platoon. I mean, Jack, and now he's been put back on active duty at a desk job. I've never seen a deserter get this kind of treatment.
How do we know that he has not been trained for the time that he was with them, and he is now a plant on our soil?
We don't. And that is another question. But I'm not going to weaken, and I'm not going to be kowtowed by certain individuals that live within the confinement of the Magic Valley saying that we should leave the Bergdahl story alone. It's far from over, Jack.
Well, all you got to do is read the paper, and you'll know that the people of the Magic Valley we have a great newspaper.
Maybe that's your opinion, but it's not mine. God bless you for your call, Jack. Thank you so much.
I meant by the comment.
I do entirely. Thank you, sir. Have a good day. Thank you. Don't forget, sugar beet growers, I want to talk to you for a moment. Introducing Preaxor from BASF, the newest form of chemistry for sugar beets to fight disease and potentially increase yield and sugar content of your sugar beets. Preaxor contains headline and a new compound, Xemium, that also provides excellent control of powdery mildew. With the application of BASF's Preaxor, 45 to 60 days prior to harvest, you have the potential of higher yields and more sugar content in your sugar beets. So contact your local ag chem supplier today, or call my buddy BASF Ron Ellis at 431-6776 or Tim Perry at 844-0682. BASF's Preaxor for your better sugar beets. Calls are welcome. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I'd like to hear from you on this story. There are a lot of upset people this morning. I mean, there are parents that are very upset of soldiers that were in Bergdahl's platoon. There are former military leaders that are upset and basically pointing their finger at the Obama administration that this is a whitewash. And they're trying to lessen the charges to make this situation literally go away. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. And there's something else here, too. Let's be real honest here, folks. He hasn't talked to his mom and dad. He hasn't had any correspondence, supposedly, by many, many major news operations, that he has never yet talked to his mom and dad. Isn't that a little weird? Isn't that more than just a little bit, and you wrinkle your eyebrows a little bit? Not yet at all. And don't give me this, well, he's under stress. Well, he's this, that. No, don't give me that. I know that after that, the two most wonderful people in the world, to me, would have been my mom and dad to call them and see what's going on. He hasn't done that. Don't forget Oakley Pioneer Days. Last night they had the first night of 2 nights. Tonight it continues, the 4-cylinder car race, 6th annual Bump and Rub. Oh, man. I heard they get a little wild and woolly up there. I mean, it's the Dukes of Hazzard revisited. And tomorrow night they got a big gymkhana, and then on Friday and Saturday night, big rodeo, fireworks, dancing, and then on Friday they're going to have a basketball tournament, a volleyball tournament. They're going to have entertainment in the park, chuck wagon breakfast. I mean, holy cow, huge Pioneer Day parade on Saturday. All of this and more up at Oakley Pioneer Days under the banner of a flood of blessings all this week. Hey, by the way, some of the merchants up there in Oakley want you to come on up, including Clark's for Shopping, 100 East Main Street in Oakley. Oh, man. Have you ever had that famous breakfast sausage from Grandma's Recipe, bulk patties or links at Clark's? Oh, I'm talking major delicious. It's made right there at the store. You better check it out at Clark's for Shopping in Oakley. Also, Representative and Speaker of the House Scott Bedke, a rancher in Oakley, would like to invite everybody up to the best celebration in Idaho, the Oakley Pioneer Days, and it's going on all this week. 127 years of Western family traditions. Thank you, Speaker of the House Scott Bedke. And Searles, 106 North Center Street in Oakley, gas, grub, and goodies. Boy, they got it all for you. 6 in the morning till 9 at night, and they bake their specialty buns fresh every day. Oh, they're good. They're good at Searles, 106 North Center Street in Oakley. All right, give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I'd like to hear what you have to say. You know, on another subject here this morning, and this really has got me just furious about the kids coming here illegally across our border. Caller, I'll be right there. Stand by. I just want to finish my point. And there is estimated that before this thing is all said and done on these kids coming across our border, there's going to be over 100,000 of these kids here. And we're going to be taking care of them, feeding them, clothing them, taking basically the total assistance of these kids. And the administration made a big deal this morning that they sent back a grand total on a plane of 38. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
That's horrible.
It's worse than that, Fred.
Yeah, it is. I'll tell you, I can't believe what's happening here. Under this administration, this country's going completely to hell.
Fred, let me ask you this. And you served in, correct me if I'm wrong, the United States Navy. Is that correct?
That's correct.
All right. And you are one of my dearest friends that has done so much to promote the military, etc., and I absolutely salute you. Think back to your day in the military. Think back if someone would have walked away from their post, etc., basically shunning all the responsibility that they said they would pledge allegiance to this country and this flag. What would have happened then?
I think he stood in front of the firing squad.
Can you believe that basically now it's been whitewashed to where he's back on active duty and nobody's asking any questions?
I can't believe this is happening. The guys he served with, they know what he done. They come out and told what he'd done, that he had walked away and went with the enemy.
That's right.
Now, what in the hell is wrong with our administration putting him back on active duty so he can reap the benefits?
You know,
he paid the back pay.
Your point...
I can't believe that this is happening.
Your point is very well taken on that back pay. Now, here's what I have researched, and I'm not stating this as fact. I just want the general public to know this isn't a round figure. I heard two reporters, not one but two reporters this morning at 4 o'clock this morning on the news, state that he is eligible, possibly, for over $350,000 in back pay, quote unquote, and benefits, and nobody has done anything to investigate this story.
This guy needs to be put away. That's what he needs to be done. He needs to be put away.
Well, here's the deal, Fred, and I think
his life.
I agree. Let me just ask you this. I am not trying him, and I am not convicting him on our program, but when you have members of the military, you have members of his platoon, you have members of the Congress, the Senate, and the House asking questions, and the administration is refusing to do any interrogation. They're whitewashing the situation. They're lessening the situation. Somebody made the rule that he's going to be put back on active duty at a desk job before he even gets questioned or interviewed about walking away in Afghanistan. Something's wrong, Fred.
I guess it's wrong. Well, we know it's wrong. It's wrong with the country, with this guy leading it.
I agree.
The immigration. Look at everything that's been going wrong in this nation since he took over.
I agree.
It's horrible.
Fred, thank you.
It breaks my heart, Sam.
I know it does. I know it does. God bless you for your call this morning, Fred. Thank you so much. Thank you.
You bet.
I'm frustrated because I will not be at all by anyone told what stories I can talk about or not talk about. Boy, if that happens and I cow to certain individuals or groups, then I'm going to turn the microphone off, never turn it on again, and talk about any stories. I will not be threatened. This is a story that bothers me. Now, it seems funny to me that somebody would even insinuate not talking about the story. It's a fellow Idahoan, but I'm not going to just whitewash the story like it appears the administration is. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Let's have the weather forecast, and it's brought to you this hour by my dear friends, Gentle Ben and Leslie and everybody over at Burley Glass. The best decision I ever made, and I mean this, in regards to my home, was putting those windows in from Burley Glass at 1029 Overland in Burley. They are phenomenal and so energy efficient. Find out about them. Give them a call, 678-1459. 678-1459, Burley Glass, 1029 Overland Avenue in Burley, and upgrade your windows. It's that kind of a day to be energy efficient. Quickly, here comes Michael Rogers' weather.
Hello, everyone. Michael Rogers with Ziv at the Ranch. Another hot day for today. The red flag warning has been lifted by the National Weather Service in Boise. But it's still pretty hot and it's still pretty dry. Now, the good news is you're going to go from, let's see, your high yesterday was 104. The high in Jerome was 102. You're going to cool off today. How about this? This is exciting. You're going to cool off to 97. Yeah, 97. You're going to stay in the 90s all the way through the weekend. No thunderstorms in the forecast, but as I shared with you before, because of the thunderstorm pattern and the moisture coming up from the south around Phoenix, wouldn't be surprised if you got one, because it just starts to meander right up toward our area, and it gets really hot, and those clouds begin to form, and it'll dump. And that's what will happen. Even though it's not in the forecast, that's a normal summertime pattern in the Magic Valley of South Central Idaho. So have a great day. Enjoy the weather. The only weather you got.
There you go, Michael Rogers weather, brought to you by Burley Glass, 1029 Overland Avenue in Burley. The best of energy-efficient windows. Real quick, caller, I'll be right with you. Don't go away. Sophie's Chatterbox. What a wonderful lady. What a wonderful restaurant at 530 East Street on the Square in Rupert. Oh, my goodness, they've got a bakery over there that is fantastic. And Sophie's been making some cinnamon rolls for some of our clients on the radio. Oh, my goodness, wedding cakes, cookie bars, homemade bread, cinnamon rolls. Just call her and let her know what you need. Sophie's Chatterbox on the Square in Rupert, 436-0354. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb. It's ironic that Bergdahl looks like he's going to get a pass for being a deserter and just walking off his post and so forth and joining with the Taliban. But here's the twist of the story. You probably remember Michael New.
Yes.
Michael New, as these soldiers, they take allegiance to the United States when they join the services. And he was forced to take an allegiance to the United Nations, and he refused. He was given a dishonorable discharge.
Yeah.
Now, he was on duty. He was doing his duty, but he just refused to accept the globalist allegiance to the United Nations. And so he was given a dishonorable discharge. Totally, I mean, you just look at the opposites, but it shows you the agenda of these people. I don't know if you remember Michael New or not.
I do. But let me interrupt you for a second, Adrian. This pledging allegiance to the United Nations is a very, very scary thing. I only pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. I'm not pledging allegiance to the Netherlands or Japan or Taiwan or anybody else. I'm pledging allegiance to this country. And to think that somebody would have the power to come down and say, you didn't pledge allegiance to the United Nations, so you're going to get a dishonorable discharge, they should be thrown in prison themselves.
Well, he's been fighting this thing for, going on 15, 20 years now. It's been a long time, and I still get correspondence concerning that. And it's just been, it's been one delay and so forth. He's tried to get his day in court, but, they're not going to, because if he'd win that case, it would blow the cover of what the United Nations is all about and what our soldiers are fighting under. We haven't won a war since World War II.
That's right.
Fred was in there.
That's true.
And that's the reason for it's because of the agenda of the UN.
I agree with you. I got callers stacked up. Adrian's going to be on the program with us next Wednesday. Looking forward to it. God bless you, Adrian. Thank you very much.
You bet. Thank you.
Point well taken. We have not won a war since World War II. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb.
Yes, sir.
In the military, when you walk off of your post, you are called AOL, absent without leave. And if you have witnesses that actually seen him leave or knew that he had left and wasn't coming back, and he's a deserter. And if he's a deserter, he should not deserve one dime's worth of pay from the military until he has been exonerated or charged.
Yes. Keith, I'm looking at this, all my friends and my close buddies that fought in Vietnam, and many of whom did not come back home. And I'm going to be very vocal about this until this story is satisfied as far as all the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed. But this is a slap in the face to military people anywhere and everywhere in this country until we get the answers. And I'm not going to shut up and leave this story alone until we do get the answers.
When I was in the United States Navy, a friend of mine got into an accident with the car. He hit a pole. I guess he was seeing double vision. But anyway, he was taken to the hospital and he was there 2 days. He was AOL and up for court-martial. In fact, nobody at the hospital had called because he was unconscious and everything like that. But nevertheless, he was brought up on AOL charges, which is, it's not like desertion because you don't know whether he was coming back or not.
Yeah.
But in this case, he was not able to.
You're right.
But after the court heard his side of the story and the hospital backed up the fact that he couldn't return, he was exonerated.
Right.
Now, we're not having anything like that now as to why he walked away or what or anything, because he didn't want to talk about it because there's too many witnesses that actually seen his behavior.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, the other side of the story is that there seems to be a protectionist society of people that say, hey, leave this story alone, he's out of there, big deal, they got rid of 5 Taliban members and sent him home, he's home, just let it go. I can't do that. This story reeks of whitewashing from the administration top down, and I want to know answers as to why an alleged deserter is treated better today than ever before.
Why is he entitled to back pay?
I'm asking that same thing. Keith, thank you, and God bless you for your call this morning. Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Very much.
Calls are welcome and appreciated. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. And I want to tell you, too, about our dear friends at your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Easy credit plans available for you. That's right, to go and buy the tires you need, take care of the brake service you need, take care of the front end alignments, the shocks and the struts and the batteries, everything you need. And like I said, easy credit plans available. And people that will work with you, people that give you the best in service. All of the 7 locations of your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family and Paul, John on Poline in Twin Falls, and Randy on Overland and Burley. Yep, the best. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. You know, I will never be politically correct. If you're hoping on that, boy, you're going to be a long time hoping and praying that I turn politically correct. It ain't going to happen. And this deal with the Washington Redskins football team, one of the oldest teams in the NFL, and all of a sudden, why, the word Redskin is offensive. We've got to go after them and change that name. They're really hammering Daniel Snyder. They're doing everything they can to change the name of his football team, and I hope he doesn't weaken. I hope he doesn't change the name. And I'll tell you something, if he does, you're going to see the Cleveland Indians go down. You're going to see the Atlanta Braves go down. You're going to see the hockey team Chicago Blackhawks go down. It's a never-ending, it's offensive to someone, and they're going to go after him. And a federal judge, listen to this, a federal judge yesterday came out and said he will not allow the word Redskins in his courtroom, and he has stricken from any testimony as he reviews this case the word Redskins from the court documents, and it reads the Washington team. It doesn't state Washington Redskins, it states Washington team. Well, wait a minute. What gives him the right to whitewash, here we go with that word again, and BPC and already refer to the Washington NFL team and no logo, no mascot, no whatever. It's gone. Redskins is obliterated. I personally, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart, I will never change. If they are forced to change the name of that team, you're going to always hear me refer to, on Mondays after the NFL season games on Sundays, to the Washington Redskins football team. I'm not going to be coerced or cowed into changing my attitude or my thoughts on that team. There are so many teams that they're going to go after because of, I think that's offensive to me and I'm going to get it changed. Folks, this is crazy. We're going to take a little break. And you know what we forgot? We forgot the tip of the coffee cup, and Gina's going, forgot it again. Well, I want to give a tip of the coffee cup to my dear friend, Dr. Ken Turner, and his family. Nice, nice people. So, Gina, could we have that little tip of the coffee cup, please?
That is so good.
And once again, it goes to the Dr. Ken Turner and family. Nice, nice people. We're going to take a little break. ABC News is next. I'll be back in 6. Zeb at the Ranch. Don't go away. Good morning, and welcome back. Hour number 2. I'm Zeb Bell at Zeb at the Ranch with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations serving you. And then, of course, we have some great advertisers like Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More at 459 Overland and Burley, and our friends at Western Waste Services.
From the canyons of the Snake River and all across southern Idaho, we're always sure to show those Western Waste Services. We care about our community, our resources, and this great land. Western Waste Services is lending a hand, always at your disposal. Western Waste Services.
is at your disposal is correct. And by the way, they've got dumpsters in various sizes. Call them today if you're cleaning out the basement or the garage, or maybe you're doing some landscaping. Get a dumpster at Western Waste. Oh, my. And if you're having a family reunion or a great big company party, don't forget, too, they've got all the porta potties. Call them today, 734-6969. Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. And by the way, too, we want to remind everybody, on Thursdays we have a segment with Vicky at Vicky's Country Gardens. Thanks, Deanne. And Vicky's Country Garden with a gardening program called Gardening for Idiots, named after me. And boy, we're right in the heat of things, literally, with all the gardens this summer and all of the landscaping, everything, all the materials right there at Vicky's Country Gardens, 185 South, 600 West of Paul, 438-5663. There are some people that I just look up to them for the way they treat other people, and that's Hanson Mortuary with Joel Heward and his staff at 710 6th Street in Rupert. And they always believe in serving your loved ones with the highest ethical standards with unquestioned integrity. You know, when there's the passing of a loved one, there's just so much turmoil. The dotting of the I's, crossing of the T's, trying to get everything taken care of. They can help, they will help, and you'll be so appreciative. Hanson Mortuary, 710 6th Street in Rupert, 436-5636. Please call them today. Right now, we're going to get on the phone line. And I've had this gentleman on my program once before, and he knows, underline the word knows, what's going on and what's happening with a circumstance called Agenda 21. And his name is Tom DeWeese, and we'll say, good morning, Tom. How are you?
I'm doing fine, Zeb. Good to be with you.
Well, it's a pleasure to have you back on the air. You know, Tom, this is kind of like a Abbott and Costello routine, inch by inch, foot by foot. The government's taking things from the American people. And when we look at what's happening under the auspices of Agenda 21, and especially right here in the Northwest, with all the imposed issues, whether it's the wolves, whether it's the salmon problem, the water problem, whatever, Agenda 21 is just nothing more than government control, is it not?
I like the term government sprawl is what we're getting.
Okay.
Agenda 21 is so massive, and it involves every aspect of our lives. And when we try to talk about it and explain what this means, people say, oh, come on, how can they do that? Well, you just described several things. One of the major things about Agenda 21, if you tie Agenda 21 as a document that came out of the Earth Summit in 1992 with the Biodiversity Treaty, which was another document that came out of that same summit, between the two of them, this is a blueprint for completely changing human society. And the Biodiversity Treaty calls for basically rewilding as much as 50% of all the land in every single state back to the way it was before Christopher Columbus. What that means is that we are herding people out of rural areas into cities. Now, when we say that, the other side says, oh, come on, conspiracy theory, crazy. How would you ever do that? You do it by making the land unlivable. Regulations that shut down whole industries like the timber industry, the wolf reintroduction, the wetlands regulations. The EPA is on a drive right now to literally make it impossible to live on rural areas. One of the things they want to use in that aspect is banning the use of septic tanks, which really makes it impossible to live out on the rural areas. So step by step by step, what do people do? If the spotted owl is used to shut down the entire timber industry, that shuts down whole towns. That means people have to go somewhere else to live, and that's exactly what's happening, and that is herding people into these cities.
Okay, now, Tom, I know what you're saying is absolute bona fide fact. I have heard President Obama, use the words Agenda 21 in various speeches. I understand what's happening, but why is the general public so naive? Why will they not face the fact that through, like, various agencies, the EPA for one, trying to take away everything and even consider a puddle in your backyard part of the navigable waters that they want to legislate? Why are people so naive and they're not fighting back?
Because they have, first of all, the other side has massive dollars to promote their position, and our voice is a very low voice because we can't compete with that. I think that's one of the reasons. But the other thing is that they very cleverly use the excuse of environmental Armageddon. We want to stand there and defend our rights, defend the Constitution. This is illegal. This, you can't do this. It's unconstitutional. And they're saying, hey, you can stand there and declare your rights all you want, but what you're doing is destroying the earth, and once the earth is destroyed, what good are your rights going to do you? And they have sold that message over and over and over again. It is absolutely the dominant message in the school curriculum. So you've got all these kids coming out of school who they don't know anything about civics and how the United States operates or what free enterprise is or individual liberty, but they know all about the environment and how a man is absolutely a cancer on the earth. And so step by step, they're able. It's an emotional thing. They're using fear tactics to get us to throw our liberties on the bonfire.
Tom, how are they going to destroy American agriculture? I'm a big proponent of American agriculture because A, it's the best anywhere in the world. B, we have the most efficient producers that can feed the world. And C, they are the best at using natural resources over and over again. And what are we going to do if a country can't feed itself? It's a country that's going to be subservient to another country.
Yeah, the attack on agriculture is an amazing thing to watch. Ranchers, of course, across the West, unfortunately, we have that very gray area. We don't have deeds to the property. We have grazing rights and water rights that maybe could be should be property rights. And of course, you've got a government that's saying, nope, that's ours. You're infringing on our land. That is obviously hurting the cattle industry, hurting the ranching industry. They're attacking small farmers. Right here in Virginia, we are having a major problem here with government attacking small farmers. You say, why? What's the point behind that? I keep going back to this biodiversity issue of getting people off the rural lands. You have major corporations and huge corporate farms, and this is where they want to have the food come from. And the small farmer doesn't fit in that mold, so we get rid of him. One of the plans, as you really look down in the future of their plans, the step by step we're moving to this, you don't really see this happening yet, but this is part of their plans. We talk about smart growth, where you have a wall basically around the city, and you say no new development will take place outside of this because that's urban sprawl, that's evil. We won't have any new development. Everybody's going to be in the cities. But out on the outside of that, what they're talking about is creating strips of farm that is controlled by the community, and all the food for that community will be grown right there. These are called, the walls are called an urban growth boundary, and these farms, they call them a community-supported agriculture, and it's almost like it's not almost, it is like a community-controlled farm where all of our food will be grown. And the fact is, you can't feed the whole community that way. Their argument is, we don't need trucks to transport food into us, we'll do it all here. And my answer to that is, do you like bananas? Kiss them goodbye if you can't grow them in your community. That's the kind of insanity that we're talking about.
Yeah, but Tom, let's be really blunt. On my program, I'm not going to walk around the tree. I'm going to saw it down and walk through it. The thing is, this is a commune situation under a communistic control. That's what this country is turning into, with leadership that wants complete control of all of its individuals and all of its resources.
I do not back away from that statement one iota. If you look at the logos and the images that they produce over and over and over again in their literature, you have these three connecting circles. They are all labeled. Each circle, one is economic prosperity, one is ecological integrity, one is social equity. this is every aspect of our lives. What is social equity? If you don't understand the social equity plank of Agenda 21, Sustainable Development, then you don't get this. Social equity means redistribution of wealth.
Yeah.
And this is the main one that's being put in. The ecological part is the excuse to get us all to go along with it. Economic prosperity or public-private partnerships. That means corporations are partners in putting this stuff in place, and they're pushing through their products, through their commercials and so forth, these sustainable ideas. It's all part of the indoctrination process. But the social equity part of it, the redistribution of wealth, and this goes in many ways. It can go in taxes out of your pocket, but it also is another way that the redistribution of wealth is taking place, and Americans are seeing this without putting a label to it, is you're seeing regulations being imposed in this country by the EPA and other agencies that are literally making it impossible for industry to operate in our country. And so what do? They go outside of this country. They build factories. They build their processes outside of this. And that is a form of redistribution of wealth. American wealth, American power, American industry going to other countries, but all done with the excuse of protecting the environment. If the smokestacks are running in China instead of America, isn't that still polluting the atmosphere? But see, that just gets thrown under the rug because it's not about that. It is not about protecting the environment. That's the excuse. It is about redistribution of wealth.
Okay, now there's so many questions I have for you, Tom. Let's get back. Excuse me, I'm choking. Let's get back to the EPA itself. Why and how did this organization of punks and thugs get so powerful without any congressional accordance of power to them? They just assumed it. How did they get so big that now we worship at the altar of the EPA?
Well, it keeps going back to this message of environmental Armageddon. And the environment has, protecting the environment has been one of the most popular, programs in the country. People just unquestionably follow this. It's become a religion. You talk about the environment and people's eyes glaze over. Mm-hmm. You just kind of move together like zombies in the same direction. Oh, the environment, we must protect the environment. I've been on radio shows where I've been talking about these things, and I've had people say, we've got to protect the environment, and then they cut my cord. How we protect it. How is it? The incredible thing here is that when I watch them putting these programs together, wind power, solar power, other kinds of so-called environmental regulations, you get down to the root of these so-called solutions to protecting the environment, you find out they're more damaging to the environment.
That's right.
Than they are helping it.
That's right.
And so you ask your question, why are they doing this? Well, there's lots and lots of money. There are grants. You've got a horde of environmental organizations, these non-governmental organizations that are all over Capitol Hill, all over your state house, all over your local community. The same NGOs that helped write Agenda 21 at the international level are swarming over every aspect of our state, federal, local government to impose these programs.
Tom, is it too late? I mean, you and I are sitting here on the radio. I am outraged and have been for quite some time as to the illegalities and the freedoms that are being taken away from me as a private property owner. But is it too late? Where's the needle on a 1 to 10 scale? 10 being done. We're cooked. We're toast. Where are we?
The needle is falling. And what I'm going to say is based on 20 years of trying to sound the alarm on this issue and not having people listen, not having people understand. But in the last 3 years, this issue has exploded. And finally, people are beginning to get it. They're beginning to fight back. I can just go through a whole litany of things that have happened. People starting to throw back regional governments, and people starting to, the International Council for Local Environmental Initiatives, ICLEI, is the main organization that's been pushing this stuff in local communities. They had 600 cities that were U.S. cities that were members of ICLEI about 3 years ago. Today, we have managed to get at least 150 cities. I've been using that number for a while, and I can't keep up with it now. We have so many cities that are backing off on that. We have. I liken it to this. We have kind of. It's D-Day. We're at Normandy Beach, and we've established a foothold, and we're beginning to move inland. And when I say that, one of the things I have as proof of that is watching what the other side is doing right now. Mm-hmm. Since March, they have launched a coordinated attack. When I say they, the proponents of Agenda 21 and Sustainable Development, the American Planning Association launched an attack. They are trying to figure out how to neutralize our opposition, because our people are showing up at their meetings. They are, they want to have these little nice facilitated meetings where nobody disrupts anything, and our people we're beginning to train people how to disrupt them, and they hate it. They're trying to fix it. That was followed by an attack by the Southern Poverty Law Center. Again, that saying that we are secretly funded by the oil industry and the Koch brothers, that we are dangerous, that we all wear tinfoil hats. That was followed by an attack by the Natural Resources Defense Council that said our attacks on these programs were endangering America. That's the new line that they're coming up with. That was followed by an attack by treehugger.com that called me the conspiracy king.
Oh, brother.
And from that came a cover article in Newsweek magazine attacking us, an article in Esquire magazine, an article in Fortune magazine. Step by step by step, I have been told by someone who was told this directly. The head of ICLEI USA told an associate of mine, they are terrified of us. They can't get a new city to join ICLEI in America because we've made it political poison. They're scared, and they don't know what to do about it.
All right.
That means the needle is moving our way.
Okay, but now, what more can I do? What more can I help with my listeners? I mean, how can we keep throwing salt in their wound? I want to be so aggressive. I want to be so animated against them. I want to do all I can to create them to have bad days 24/7, 365. What more can I do?
Yeah, I'm with you. I want to do that as well. We have been busy creating tools and new tactics on how to go about this. One of the things that's happened over the years, obviously, we're sitting here now. We're talking about the United Nations. We're talking about Agenda 21, and I do that in my speeches. And people hear us say that, and they go rushing down to City Hall, and they charge you're implementing UN Agenda 21. And lots of times, your elected officials have no idea what you're talking about because the other side never uses that term. And again, your elected officials are just swarmed by these people, and so we're beginning to train people to focus more, really focus on the property rights issue. And we've created on my website, we've got a resolution for the protection of citizens' property rights. We're challenging local communities to sign, put in writing that they will guarantee private property rights. If you can do that, you can implement sustainable development. There's a definition there on what we believe property rights are. This is kind of the message we need to get out. We just need to keep pounding on this and showing that what this stuff means. We're now beginning to really focus on the planners and the really dishonest methods that they are using to kind of put these things in place. We need to vilify the people who are putting these things in place. As I said earlier, we don't have the funding anywhere near the billions of dollars that they have to put these things in place. But Zeb, with your voice, with people listening to you, if we can begin to vilify these guys and show what kind of things they do, that is worth lots and lots of advertising money we don't have.
Tom, how do we start how do we start a network, Tom? And I've only got 2 minutes left here in the segment. I got to have you back next week. But how do we start a network of people that have got some backbone and spine, like we're talking this morning? I don't care if they're in Boise. I don't care if they're in Seattle, Portland, L.A., Bakersfield. It doesn't make any difference. We've got to get people involved on the radio that are going to fight back and spit in the eye of these people.
Doing it from the radio side, I'm not sure how we get those. I do lots of shows, and lots of them talk about it, and we're getting that message out. One of the things that I'm doing is I started a series of webinars that we're holding once a month. They're free. You can sign up for them at AmericanPolicy.org. And the whole point of this is to train, educate, and motivate a cadre of activists in every single community to pour gasoline on what we've already accomplished. And you know what? We had 1,200 on our first one. We had about the same number on the one we just did Sunday night, and we're growing. And that's what I'm doing from that direction. And if we can, keep that message going out, I think we can begin to make some hay.
All right. Well, listen. After the program, if not today, tomorrow, I'll be calling you and try to reestablish another time to come back on this program very soon. Please put my name down that no matter what you need help with, you've got it right here. I'll lend any support I can to help you on this issue.
I deeply appreciate it.
All right. Tom DeWeese, the best, out of Virginia. Thank you on Agenda 21. Tom, I'll be in touch. God bless. Have a great day, sir. Thank you so much.
All right, you too. Thanks.
Thank you. There you go, folks. We got to get involved, and we can win. We can fight back. Fight back. Please. Don't forget, Oakley Pioneer Days is going on this week. Excuse me. And some of the great merchants up there in Oakley that want you to come on up and have some fun are Smith's Cafe, 135 East Main in Oakley. They're open Monday through Saturday, 6:30 in the morning to 1 p.m. in the afternoon, Sundays until 11. Oh, they have good food. Yes, they do, and I know because I've sat down at the table up there. You better believe it. Onion rings to die for. You're going to love it. And all kinds of cold drinks in the heat. You just stop up there and enjoy Smith's Cafe, 135 East Main in Oakley. And also our thanks go out to Oakley Valley Stone. They're located at 204 West Main Street in Oakley, and they wish the people of Oakley a very happy 127-year anniversary celebration. And look no further than Oakley Stone for new fireplace stone, headstones for a loved one, landscaping boulders, whatever. They're the source. Don't forget, Oakley Valley Stone at 204 West Main in Oakley. And the Oakley celebration is going to be fantastic. I mean, tonight, the second edition of the four-cylinder car race, the Bump and Rub, and tomorrow night the big Gymkhana, Friday and Saturday night the rodeo, dance on Saturday night, fireworks on Friday night after the rodeo. Whoop, wait a minute, I think that's on Saturday night. I better make sure on that. And then also they got basketball and volleyball tournaments, huge parades, everything going on at Oakley Pioneer Days with the theme this year, A Flood of Blessings. You get up to Oakley and have a good time with your family. You know, I'm very, very fortunate to have the cream of the crop, if you will, of all the advertisers in this area. And one company that I really want to talk about and brag about because they do a wonderful job in your protection with life insurance, health insurance, retirement planning, employee benefits, etc. And that's Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. Number to call, 436-4424. That number again, 436-4424. Dean and Todd, dedicated and responsive to your needs, they will help. Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. You call them today. Want to remind you, too, about our friends at Let's Ride. Oh, my goodness, are these nice people. And go in the showroom and just stand there and look around at all the ATVs. Holy smokes, the 2015 models are coming in right now. They've got dirt bikes. They got a lot of the Can-Ams and the side-by-sides, and they got rebates on a lot of the 2014 models. That's right. And watercrafts, rebates up to $1,000 off on some select models. All of this at Let's Ride, where the fun is sold. Highway 24 between Rupert and Burley, open Monday through Saturday, 9 to 6. Stop over and see my friends at Let's Ride. Let's go to the phone line right now, and with us we have a gentleman by the name of Jeff Dickens. Good morning, Jeff. How are you?
Doing great. Thanks for having me on.
Jeff, why don't you give us a little background and information about who you work for and what you represent? Go ahead and give us a little bio, would you please?
Yes, I work for a Media Research Center, and we have a an active, almost 24/7 blog called newsbusters.org, and we are in the business of exposing and identifying liberal media bias in on the news networks, on cable news, and of course internet outlets and newspapers.
Jeff, I'll tell you my position on a situation right now this morning. I am absolutely flabbergasted. I'm just sitting, after I get off this program, I go get my geezer chair and I just shake my head till it almost rattles as to how absolutely naive we as Americans are in accepting this so-called border crisis from the Obama administration, accepting all these illegal alien children, accepting all these diseases, accepting the fact that we might have to kick up another $3.7 billion out of our pockets. Why? I'm telling you, Jeff, this is ridiculous.
Right. Well, here at the MRC, what we found is that the mainstream, or I should say these big three networks, ABC, CBS, and NBC, those are the networks, by the way, that have still, in this fractured media landscape, have the most eyeballs watching, the highest ratings, and the most low information voters. And what we found is that they haven't really been doing a good job of reporting the whole story on the current border crisis. And we found that in the vast majority of stories, starting since the coverage really began around June 8th, it's like 90% of the stories refuse to really tell their viewers about how the Barack Obama administration's enforcement policies or lack of enforcement of immigration have really led to this current crisis.
Okay, fine. Okay, they're not doing their job. How do we get them to do their job? How do we put the thumbs down and tighten the screws on, like our ABC affiliate for this station? How do we tell them, hey, wait a minute, why are you glossing over this story? Why are you not covering this story? Why aren't you telling the American public the truth? Why aren't you showing and exposing the cost factor? What do we do?
Well, I think several ways you can do this is I would urge your listeners to go to newsbusters.org. You will find a lot of information and stories you can find that, and use social media and get on Twitter if you're on Twitter or Facebook, and cite these articles at newsbusters.org. And when you send them, when you're see if you can get a list of reporters at your local station or reporters at ABC or CBS or NBC or what have you, and say, hey, look, these are some of the stories that you're not covering, or you're not covering the right angles, or not all the angles. Some of them are actually, it's rare, but occasionally you might find a fair reporter that will then include that story, but you have to sort of provide the information for them sometimes. But I'll say just too, I'm kind of cynical. A lot of these, especially at the big networks, a lot of these reporters, I mean, they are right there is for the Obama administration, and they are covering up a lot of his scandals, or not covering them as extensively as they should.
All right, but Jeff,
don't put up your hopes.
No, I'm not going to give up on my hopes, but I want to ask you this. You alluded to the fact that somebody is calling up the newsrooms. Now, these are my words, not yours. Somebody's calling up the newsrooms. Somebody's calling up these journalists. Somebody is sending a memo. Somebody is saying, hey, back off, Jack. Don't cover that story. Don't you agree that somebody from the political world is saying, we got to protect our Baraki boy?
Yes, I'm sorry, you're breaking up there a little bit. Maybe it might be on my line. I'm sorry.
Well, what I'm saying, Jeff, is that somebody is tightening up the screws somewhere in politics, and they're basically doing some arm twisting on our news media, so they're not covering these stories. That's not the American news business that I grew up in.
Right. Well, and I think there's definitely pressure from the administration on these reporters, and a lot of these reporters and producers used to work for Democrats. So there's this whole sort of, it's funny. It's just like, it's like, well, why are these news reporters acting like Democrats? Well, because in many cases, many of them are.
Well, yeah, I understand that, and I don't mind party affiliations because you can look back to Edward R. Murrow, you can look back to any of the newscasters of days of old, and yeah, they had party affiliation, but when it came to the news, basically they gave the news as it was, and they didn't try to hide it, they didn't try to shelter it, and they didn't try to rewrite it. What happened to journalism in this country so that I can't trust journalism right now. I honestly look at these guys with a cynical point of view, and women, and I don't trust them.
I thought you were breaking up.
No, I don't know if it's me or if we've got a bad phone line. I just said, and I'll try to sum it up shorter, I don't trust the media, and I want to know why. These things have changed in the last 40 to 50 years. Why? Why has the media changed and basically gotten in bed with politics?
Well, I think, it's interesting. You would think market forces would come to bear and that they would start, they would realize that that they are losing viewership, they are losing in the trust factor. But I just think that they're so committed to, at least a lot of them are committed to advancing the progressive and leftist cause, that they don't care what the ratings are. They don't care what the dollar, the bottom line says. They're that beholden to the liberal ideology.
When you say that, though, Jeff, they don't care. You know as well as I do that television shows, news shows are all driven by ratings. And when you look at the bottom of the bucket, like MSNBC, how do they stay alive? How do they keep going with advertising being at a minimal on that station? How do they survive this thing?
Well, as long as you have sort of a diehard core of an audience, and if MSNBC can try to get every liberal that's out there to watch them and only them, and take away from CNN, then they can, I guess, sustain somewhat of a business model around that. It's again, as you look at where the ratings are, it's Fox News has a higher ratings than CNN and MSNBC. And you would think at some point MSNBC and CNN would sort of go, maybe we should bring on some more conservative voices, or try to cover more conservative issues, or give them more of an airing. But like I said before, I think they're so committed to that progressive cause that they don't do it.
All right, last question for you this morning, Jeff. Can it change, and how is that change going to be affected?
It can change. You look at 25 years ago, Fox News didn't even exist. You go back even further, and you can see talk radio shows like your shows and others like Rush Limbaugh's. That launch really didn't happen until the 80s. So the landscape has changed, and it's happened through going through around sort of the big networks and around the big newspapers and going through these alternate channels. So yeah, change can happen, and there has been progress in terms of getting sort of the conservative angle out. But there needs to be more of that. And I would say for your listeners to again go to sites like newsbusters.org, check Drudge Report, listen to your show, listen to a Mark Levin or a Rush Limbaugh, and get on social media and go to your neighbors and see them at the local Walmart store and give them the truth about what's really happening.
I appreciate you taking the time to come on our program this morning with the Media Research Center. I've got a lot of good friends back there. Jeff Dickens, thank you, sir. Come back in the future. God bless. Have a good day, sir. Thank you much.
Absolutely. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you very much. Okay, calls are welcome and appreciated. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Calls are welcome, so give us a jingle. Don't forget Lee's Furniture, Floors and More, big sidewalk sale. They've got living room sets. Oh, my goodness, many options. They've got flooring on special. They've got great low prices prices on carpet. They've got many mattresses on special prices. You better get in there and talk to the professionals that really know comfort for your home and the beautification of your home. All of these folks are at Lee's Furniture, Floors and More at 459 Overland and Burley. You stop in and see them today and check out, like I said, the bedrooms, the floor coverings, the dining room sets, living room sets, everything for your comfort at Lee's Furniture, Floors and More. Yeah, I got to ask Gina a question. Gina, are you right there by the microphone?
Yeah.
Okay, good. I'm glad you're there. I mean, that gives me a kind of a wholesome, all-together, jigsaw puzzle finished attitude, so I appreciate that. Garth Brooks. Are you a fan of Garth Brooks?
Used to be, yeah.
Okay, used to be, yeah. Now, you kind of touched on the key word right there, used to be. Do you think that somebody like Garth Brooks, or maybe Billy Joel, or somebody like that, can leave basically the media? Leave it. I mean, go away and not be in the entertainment forefront, and all of a sudden come back and be as famous as they were or want to be as they used to be on a world tour?
No.
You don't think so?
No, I don't think so. Let me put it to you this way. He's not George Strait.
In many respects, though, Garth Brooks is larger than George Strait.
He was larger than George Strait. George Strait has kept himself out there. He's had hit after hit after hit after hit, year after year after year after year. No, Garth Brooks will never measure up to that kind of fame and or stature as, say, George Strait.
I would.
He married somebody also very famous in the music industry. Mm-hmm. Kudos to him.
Yeah.
But and remember his little stint as Chris Gaines? That was a total flop.
Yep.
Yeah. So do I think? I mean, I loved Garth back in the 90s. He was the epitome of country music back then. Is he today? No, he's not.
Well, here's the reason I'm bringing this up. And by the way, how's the line sound? Are we getting a crackle on the... It sounds good?
Perfect.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was going to say that I know Garth, and that's not to drop a name, but I do know him. I've worked with him, okay? Mm-hmm. And I have also worked with George Strait. And I don't think you can really compare the two entertainers for this reason. I think that Garth Brooks was a little bit smarter, and I'm not saying and diminishing anything about George, but he knew his audience couldn't stay just relatively rural, and he changed some of his modus operandi, especially when he had that that Las Vegas review, to basically open the door for another world tour, which is going to start in Chicago and go worldwide. He is not going to stay home in Oklahoma. He is going to hit the road, and he's going to try to revive the Garth Brooks image.
Okay, so here's one thing that I don't know, that I have not heard. Does he have a new album out to support this, or is he just going to rehash a greatest hits album?
I believe, now, this is according to what I have here in front of me, that he's going to start this world tour and then hopefully release an album shortly after that, which would also concur with the timing of the world quote-unquote tour. But, you know, I agree with you. I just don't think it's going to be a smashing success. I think a lot of Garth Brooks, from, like you said it very succinctly, in the 90s, etc. I mean, he had that black hat tipped over to one side, and he hit the stage, and people were oohing and on. I just don't think it's there again.
He didn't keep himself in the limelight. He has been. He's a forgotten. And, you know, not to say anything about his talents and abilities, but if you want to continue on within the music industry and you want to keep yourself in the forefront and you want to make the money, you've got to continually be in it. You can't drop off the planet, change your name, do something else, and then come back 10 years later as yourself and still be accepted in the same way that you were. It just does not work that way. You have 15 minutes, and if you don't keep yourself in front of the camera, on the mic, in that 15 minutes, you will be forgotten.
I agree with you, and I just think that this world tour to revive his career again, to be what he was...
Is he going with him?
Pardon me?
And Trisha Yearwood going with it?
You know, I don't know that. It wasn't in the story, and it wasn't in the release that I had from me. But I will say this. You bring up an interesting point. Garth Brooks lost his first marriage because of his world tours and because he was performing on stage at that time with Trisha Yearwood. Then they got married, and they moved to Oklahoma, just outside of Oklahoma City. I know exactly where he lives, as a matter of fact. I could drive you right up to his place right now. And I just wonder if he leaves on a world tour. You know, we've seen history repeat itself.
Oh, yes. We have seen history repeat itself. And so, but she's always been kind of his backup singer.
Yeah.
And, you know, she's always helped him out, you know, within the music realm. And so that's why I asked, you know, is she going to go on tour with him? Because that would be a great support. I'm sure that their kids are grown and you know, moving on to their own thing. So I mean, if I was in that position, hey, babe, you're coming along with me. Let's go have some fun and see the world.
It'll be interesting to see what happens to, and you got to give him this, and I will say this, Garth Brooks was at one time possibly the greatest entertainer that country music ever had.
I remember going to a Garth Brooks concert in Spokane, as a matter of fact, and great show, phenomenal artist, you know, awesome, very energetic entertainer. But, and there's the caveat, but that was back then.
Yeah.
This is now. We haven't seen anything from him except for maybe getting on stage and doing an award ceremony. That's all he's done. He hasn't even put out a new album lately, so that's why I'm asking, is this just going to be a greatest hits kind of tour?
Yeah, and I'll tell you the embarrassing story about how I met this guy. Okay, I'll tell it real short, and then we'll do the weather. We're Sikeston, Missouri, and it was at the beginning, basically, of his career when his name was really starting to get well-known. And the day before the rodeo starts in Sikeston, Missouri, it's hot. It's on the Arkansas border. It's a huge, huge facility. Seats about 11,000 people, and you can imagine with the hot temperatures in southern Missouri in the summertime in August, I'm up there with the sound people, and we're trying to test the sound. Somebody walks up there with a baseball cap and a T-shirt on and says, "Hey, are you the announcer?" And I said, "Yes. Have you got time to go over the little bit of verbiage on introducing the entertainer for tomorrow night?" "I don't right now. I wanted to get back to the motel. I was in a hurry." And he said, "Gee, I'd sure like to go over it if we could." I said, okay, let's do it real quick. And he handed me the information. I looked at it and I said, "Certainly, take care of it." And I stuck my hand out and I said, "By the way, what's your name?" And he said, "Garth Brooks."
And you're like, oh, foot in mouth.
Yeah, I had my boot and my jaw sideways. Yes, I did.
You know, I think I've heard you tell that story before, but, you know, I really do love Garth Brooks, and he is a phenomenal entertainer, but do I think that this is going to be the concert that's going to put him back on the map? No.
I agree with you. I do agree with you on that. Yes, I do. Okay, I got to do the weather, and the weather this hour is sponsored by Sportsman's Warehouse, 1940 Bridgeview Boulevard in Twin Falls, with my buddy, manager Reese Widmeyer, and the rest of the crew. I'm telling you, the great indoors for those who love the great outdoors at Sportsman's Warehouse. Quality gear gives you the edge you need to perform well and enjoy the journey. They've got it all. Hunting, fishing, archery, camping, boating, everything is right there at Sportsman's Warehouse. Stop in and see them today. I'll be right back after Michael Rogers' weather.
Hello, everyone. Michael Rogers with Zeb at the Ranch. Another hot day for today. The red flag warning has been lifted by the National Weather Service in Boise, but it's still pretty hot and it's still pretty dry. Now, the good news is you're going to go from, let's see, your high yesterday was 104. The high in Jerome was 102. You're going to cool off today. How about this? This is exciting. You're going to cool off to 97. Yeah, 97. You're going to stay in the 90s all the way through the weekend. No thunderstorms in the forecast, but as I shared with you before, because of the thunderstorm pattern and the moisture coming up from the south around Phoenix, wouldn't be surprised if you got one, because it just starts to meander right up toward our area, and it gets really hot, and those clouds begin to form, and it'll dump. And that's what will happen. Even though it's not in the forecast, that's a normal summertime pattern in the Magic Valley of South Central Idaho. Have a great day. Enjoy the weather. The only weather you got.
Thank you, Michael. The great indoors for those who love the great outdoors. Everything you need is at Sportsman's Warehouse, 1940 Bridgeview Boulevard in Twin Falls, and you stop in and see them today. Calls are welcome. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. We'll talk about anything you want to talk about. You know, Gina makes a good point about Garth Brooks, and I agree with her. I just wonder how well received Garth is going to be on this world tour, this new world tour that is supposedly going to kick off in Chicago and then go to major cities, I guess, unknown. I don't have all the list of where he's going to go and everything, but he's been out of the, pardon me?
He would do really well in Asia.
I think you're right there because, you know, I'll tell you something. The American West over in Japan and the cowboy image is absolutely respected over there.
Huge. It's huge. They are into country. They love that sort of Americana and the Wild West and anything that entails. So when he goes on his world tour, he will make the most money, and he will be the most well-received in the Asian countries.
I'll tell you what happened.
Or, Japan, Hong Kong,
right.
All of those places, he will be very, very well-received.
I can tell you what happened as far as the Asian culture and wanting to know more about cowboys. In 1996, I was selected to do part of the Olympics in Atlanta, Georgia, and I did part of the equestrian. And after one event was over and I left the announcer stand and was walking down below, I mean, like there's 80-some thousand people that were at that venue that day. Here comes a mother and a little boy from Japan, and they walk up, and you know how they bow, and they're very graceful and everything. And the little boy said in perfect English, he said, "Are you American cowboy?" And I said, "Yes, I'm around the horse business, and I do it for a living and everything." And he said, "Could I please have your autograph?" And I gave him the autograph, but I put it on my hat. And I gave him my hat, and he took my hat, and about 3 weeks later, I got an email and a letter from him thanking me, and he stayed in touch with me for quite some time after that.
And that's what I say. Over there, they respect it. It's huge. It is a part of a culture of ours that's uniquely our own that they don't understand because, in the Asian countries, they are very, very steep in their own culture.
Right.
And so when they're enthralled by the wildness and the strong men type of the West. And so I think that is very sweet that you gave him your hat because I bet you he still has it.
Now, and the other part of that story goes later on when Deanna and I took a cruise years and years ago. We were on a cruise, and, they always try to arrange when you go in for dinner in the evening, maybe another family or two to sit at the table with you, and you have kind of a designated table, if you will. And one of the families there was a Japanese family, and they spoke extremely limited English. It was really hard to communicate with them. But what happened, they had two lovely little girls, and one little girl was 5, the other one was 4, and they learned the word cowboy. And every night they would come over, and the oldest little girl would come over to me and give me a little hug, and she'd say, "American cowboy." And I just love that family, and we stayed in touch with them for a long, long time. And when the nuclear disaster happened in Japan, they were one of the families evacuated, and we stayed in touch through emails to make sure that they were safe over there in that area.
And it's amazing how, it doesn't matter what kind of language that you speak, you can still find a way to communicate.
Absolutely.
Cowboy you.
Yeah, well, that's some of the stories that I really relate to because really it doesn't make any difference if you're Asian or if you're from Europe or whether you're from Mexico or America. We all basically, when we sit down and start visiting, we're really quite a bit alike.
You think?
Yep.
We all love to talk.
Yeah, amen. I'm going to pay some bills, and then we'll wrap up this hour. Don't forget, Lincoln County is going to have a great, big, fun time. And this Saturday, they're going to have the Ranch Rodeo up there at the Lincoln County Fair and Rodeo. And they're going to have team branding, team doctoring, working ranch horse, trailer loading. They're going to have snubbed up bronc riding. They're going to have a ranch rodeo. And then next week, of course, they've got everything going on July 21st all the way through the 27th. You don't want to miss it. Horse pulling, barrel racing, 4-H and FFA horse shows and IMPRA rodeos, antique tractor pulls, all of this and more at the Lincoln County Fair and Rodeo for 2014 up in Shoshone. Wonderful people putting on a great big event. The Lincoln County Fair and Rodeo for this year. You be sure and stop up and say howdy. You're going to have some fun. In just a little bit, we are going to be going to the ABC News, but I want to quickly remind you, tomorrow night, Jerome County Fair team roping with my good buddy Dave Zanino. Sign up at 6:30, rope at 7. It's a 3 for $20 draw pot. Enter up to 6 times, and it's cash in, cash out. And for more information, 431-1263. 431-1263. Don't forget that. Now, coming up next hour, we're going to have Dr. History. And by the way, if you want to hear some back programs of Dr. History, people from all over the world, I think, what did Doc say the last time? 35 countries already are...
Yeah.
Pardon me?
35 countries, yes.
Yeah, 35 countries are listening to repeats of our Dr. History segment on this program, and more people are signing up every day to get more information. That's going to be at 10:06, and then at 10:30 this morning, we're going to talk about a very kind of a sticky subject for a lot of people, and that's Casey Gibbons coming on the program, and he's going to be talking about an article that he recently has written in regards to school teachers and should teacher tenure be abolished. So that's going to be coming up at 10:30. I'm going to turn this back over to the Garth Brooks fan of our program, Gina, and she's going to probably play. I got a feeling you're going to play a little Garth Brooks going into the news, so I'll let you have it. Here's Gina. I'll be back in 6 minutes. Oh my, good morning. Welcome back. Hour number 3 on a Tuesday, July 15th already. That's hard to believe. I mean, holy buckets. It's around the corner from school coming back, and fall, and trees shedding their leaves, and I don't want to think about the cold weather. Welcome back, Zebeth Ranch, with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations, along with some of our great advertisers, including Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More at 459 Overland and Burley, and our friends at Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. Get on the route service today. Call them at 734-6969. Real fast, I want to mention the Chadwick Sports Grill at 139 West Main in Burley. I'm so doggone hungry this morning. And listen to what they've got. I love this, and I'm not familiar with this word by any means, so I'm not a Chef Boyardee. But they're going to have pork saltimbocca. I hope I said that right. Saltimbocca with vegetables, choice of potato, soup, or salad for just $9.95. That kind of rolls off your tongue. Pork saltimbocca. I like that. Saltimbocca! Saltimbocca! Sounds like high karate. Saltimbocca! Anyway, it's going to be delicious at, now that I've killed their ad, Chadwick Sports Grill, 139 West Main in Burley. They're having today pork saltimbocca. Is that how you say that, Deanne? Saltimbocca? Okay. Well, possibly different than what I said. Anyway, be sure and go to that. I'll ask Dr. History in a minute. He'll know all about saltimbocca. And don't forget, too, on Thursdays, I can't get it out of my head now, saltimbocca. And on Thursdays, we also have a segment at 10:10 called School Days in Cache County right here on my program. And it's brought to you by A Child's World at 1308 Overland in Burley and Ambulatory Surgery Center on Highland Drive in Burley. Don't forget they're having their annual sidewalk sale right there at A Child's World. Oh, my goodness, they've got everything for the babies, everything for the children, everything for you. Stop in at A Child's World. And don't forget the Ambulatory Surgery Center with life-saving colonoscopies performed by specialists. That's right. For 14 years, the Ambulatory Surgery Center in Burley has performed over 100 procedures every month. Call them 677-8888. Thank you very much, Child's World and Ambulatory Surgery Center. And right now, here is the professor of Saltimbocca, Dr. History.
Good morning, Zeb. I don't even know what that is, but it Sounds interesting.
Well, you know, it does. It sounds doggone good, and it's the special today at the Chadwick Sports Grill. It's Port Saltimbocca.
Well, just pork sounds good, whatever that is.
Well, yeah, but, you know, your mission after the program, and if you decide not to take this mission, it'll self-destruct in 5 seconds. Anyway, your mission after this program is to find out what Port Saltimbocca is.
Okay, if I can figure out how to spell it.
Oh, it's easy. Just sound it out. Anyway, how are you this morning?
I'm doing great, I was checking on our web page, and we have now over 7,000 hits. I said last week 35, but it's only 25 countries throughout the world.
You exaggerated. Shame on you.
I did. I apologize. It's only 25 countries around the world. And so, you know, we're getting out there a little bit, but just want to encourage those listeners out there that if you like it, tell your friends, and we'll see if we can get more listeners even.
We promise not to sever relationships with the countries aforementioned. We have no idea. I don't have any idea. Who are some of the 25 countries that have gone on our website?
Oh, gosh. China, Japan, Korea, Latvia, Turkey, Egypt, England, France, some South American countries. I can't remember which. It's amazing to me the diversity all over the world.
Why, we go
here and there.
We go from riding horses here to riding camels over there.
I guess, but they like to hear about things like this. So that's what we're going to talk about today. I hope something that they'll be interested in. Now, if you think about the Old West, there's some kind of exciting things that took place, and a lot of them had to do with outlaws and marshals and shootouts. Mm-hmm. And that's what we're going to talk about today.
All right, well, yeah, outlaws, in-laws, they're all the same. Go ahead.
Here we go. So just want to have you picture in your mind, here comes the train down the track, gushing smoke from its stack. It's the Atlantic and Pacific Railroad's number 2, eastbound. It's slowing to a stop at what they call the Diablo Canyon Station. Mm-hmm. This is in Arizona territory, and the year is 1889. Well, there wasn't much to Diablo Canyon Station. Train stopped there to take on more wood and water, but that was about it. Nothing, not much there. But today, though, there was more waiting for the train. There were 4 young cowboys who worked for the Aztec Land and Cattle Company, also called the famous Hash Knife Outfit. Well, they rode up while the train was stopped. So the 4 cowboys swung down from the horses, pulled their guns, and swarmed aboard the train. They held the conductor, the engineer, and the fireman at gunpoint while they forced the express messenger to open the express car. Well, these cowboys turned train robbers made quick work of looting the safe, and their loot consisted of about $7,000 in cash and actually a considerable amount of jewelry. Mm-hmm. So for some hard-working cowboys, this was a huge success. So on their horses they jumped and galloped off to the north. They crossed the Navajo reservation, heading towards Utah, heading north. Now, unfortunately for these young desperados, they had committed their crime in a county, and I don't know if I'm pronouncing this right, it's Yavapai? Y-A-V-A-P-A-I.
Yep, Yavapai, yep.
Yavapai County. Well, this set in motion one of the longest manhunts in terms of distance in the history of the Old West. They hadn't reckoned on the fact that they would be pursued by the Yavapai County Sheriff, Bucky O'Neill. Now, I'm going to bet nobody's heard of Bucky O'Neill.
You haven't heard of Bucky O'Neill? What is the matter with you?
Well, I have, but I'm just saying, I don't think a lot of people have heard of him like Jesse James and a few of those other guys, or the Earps. So William Owen Bucky O'Neill was born in Ireland in 1860, and when he was still young, his family immigrated to America and wound up in St. Louis. He was a well-educated guy. He moved to Phoenix, Arizona, became editor of the Arizona Gazette. Now, this guy, if you kind of picture, I don't have a picture of him, but if you can picture in your mind, he was kind of a soft-spoken, modest, cultured, and possessed the knack of making just about everybody like him. But he also had a strong sense of fair play and never hesitated to stick up for the underdog. In fact, one of the examples, at this time, the Atlantic and Pacific Railroad was extending its rail line through Arizona. Well, it seems a gang of those graders who prepared the right-of-way for the tracks to be laid down later took over a water hole running off a band of peaceful Navajo Indians who watered their sheep at that water hole. Well, Bucky O'Neill found out about this. He rode out to confront the railroad workers and asked them to restore the water hole to the Navajos. Well, of course, the foreman and the grading crew, they just laughed, and so Bucky, he just quietly rode off. But a little while later, he was back. Now, at this time, he was at the head of a group of Navajo Indians whom he had armed and offered to lead them into battle. Well, not wanting a full-scale Indian war on their hands, the railroad workers kind of decided better just to leave the water hole to its rightful owners. Mm-hmm. So this was kind of the man that we're talking about, this Bucky O'Neill. Now, this incident that turned Bucky O'Neill against the railroads, which at that time were the most powerful political force in the territory. Now, Bucky had political ambitions of his own and was elected probate judge, and a couple of years later he ran for county sheriff on the platform that he would enforce the tax laws and make the railroad pay its full share. Well, the railroad barons hadn't been paying their share for quite some time, so obviously they opposed Bucky's campaign. They didn't want him coming after him. So anyway, given their anger toward the sheriff, it's no surprise that when the eastbound was held up and robbed at Diablo Canyon Station, ironically, the officials of the Atlantic and Pacific did not ask the sheriff to go after the outlaws. They just figured, the loss from the express car was not that big, and the officials believed rightfully so that if O'Neill pursued and captured the robbers, that his standing in the county would be even better. Mm-hmm. Well, but once Bucky heard about the robbery, his pride and his devotion to duty would not allow him to ignore it. So he set off for Diablo Canyon Station to pick up the outlaws' trail, and he took a posse with him. Now, Bucky O'Neill himself was able to pick up the trail of the outlaws, and the lawmen rode north, trailing the outlaws through the reservation towards Utah. For 2 weeks, the chase continued, made longer by the fact that the train robbers doubled back several times in an attempt to throw off any pursuit. Well, by the time both groups reached the vicinity of Kanab, Utah, the outlaws had to be aware that a posse was on their trail. They stopped and set up an ambush. Now, the shots that suddenly rang out forced O'Neill and the other posse members to hunt for cover, but none of them were hit. And for several brief but furious minutes, they threw lead back and forth at the outlaws, and the outlaws finally fled again, still heading north. Well, if anything, the fight must have made Bucky O'Neill more determined than ever to catch up to his guys. So the posse rode on deeper into Utah, sticking to the outlaws, and by now the horses were getting pretty worn out. You can imagine, we're going a week, 2 weeks here, and the chase couldn't really continue too much longer.
Well, you ever been to Kanab, Utah, by the way?
I have. I think I've driven through there.
I'll tell you what, that is quite a wide open, but yet very hilly, very steep country. And I'll tell you what, I can see why they were getting a little tired going through there.
Well, and, kind of a deserty place, lack of water, feed for the horses. So, it was getting tough on the men and the horses. That
was a major movie site, by the way, for the John Wayne movies and everything. I just thought I'd throw that in.
Yeah, that's right. They did a lot of movies down in that area, down in Utah. So, but Bucky O'Neill, he was riding a good old sturdy buckskin horse named Sandy. And this good old horse lived up to its name. And the sheriff was able to actually pull ahead of the other members of the posse. Now, this is where history gets a little foggy because accounts differ as to what actually happened when Bucky rode up into a canyon. Some say that they came upon the outlaws sitting around a campfire, thinking that they had lost their pursuers at last, while other versions of the story claim that the robbers were waiting for O'Neill and that he rode into another ambush. But whatever is true, the gunshots blasted that day and echoing from the walls of the canyon as Bucky O'Neill again swapped lead with the outlaws he was chasing. But anyway, O'Neill's horse went down and it fell on the sheriff's leg and pinned him to the ground. So things weren't looking too good for Bucky O'Neill. But anyway, at that moment, the rest of the posse caught up with him. They kind of pulled him out from underneath his horse, and anyway, the posse continued shooting at the outlaws. And anyway, once he was on his feet again, O'Neill rejoined the fight, and so outnumbered and exhausted, the horses were given out. The young cowboys finally did the only thing they could do. They surrendered.
So they threw down their guns and lifted their hands, and when the posse searched their saddlebags, they found nearly all of the money taken in the Diablo Canyon holdup, as well as most of the stolen jewelry. So the boys didn't even get a chance to celebrate or spend any of the money. Now, Bucky O'Neill had caught the men he was after at last, but now he had a problem. What to do with them? He was hundreds of miles from Yavapai County, far out of his jurisdiction. Now, keep in mind, Zeb, remember the old movies when the outlaws would head across the county line and the sheriff and the posse would be after them, and as soon as they crossed the county line, the sheriff would stop? You've seen those movies.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. They'd kind of rein up and go, boys, the chase is over.
Yeah, we hit the county line. And that was just kind of understood. But in this particular case, Bucky O'Neill, he didn't stop. He just kept on going. So anyway, he was far away from his own county. So Bucky decided to push on north instead of going south, so they rode on into Salt Lake City, because that was actually closer than heading home. Well, the posse reached Salt Lake City, and once they got there, O'Neill went to the train station. He bought tickets for all of them on the next Denver and Rio Grande eastbound train that would take them to Denver. Now, this was kind of a roundabout way of getting back to Arizona, but O'Neill considered it safer. Well, when the party reached Denver, O'Neill purchased more train tickets, this time on a Santa Fe westbound headed for Prescott, Arizona. Now, this is what I find a little interesting. O'Neill paid for all of these tickets himself. Now, I'm not sure how he did that. You know, they didn't have credit cards back then. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if he just kept receipts and charged it, but for whatever, he paid for all of this himself. Now, by the time the posse and the prisoners got back to Prescott, though, Bucky O'Neill had spent $8,000 in out-of-pocket expenses.
Holy cow!
Now, I don't know. Maybe he used the money that they gotten from the robbers. I don't know.
Yeah.
But anyway, unfortunately, Bucky got back with only 3 prisoners out of the 4. Seems like when the train was stopped in New Mexico, one of the guys, a guy named Smith, had gotten loose and escaped, and still, Sheriff O'Neill brought back 3 of the 4 outlaws following the chase that had lasted 4 weeks and taken the posse into 4 different states, let alone crossing county lines. Well, anyway, this Smith guy was actually recaptured, so all 4 of the men were convicted of armed robbery and sent to prison.
Oh, boy.
Well, it turned out to be an expensive trip for the sheriff. Bucky had been careful to get receipts for all of his expenses, but when he took those receipts to the county board of supervisors, the board refused to pay. The supervisors claimed that as a county employee, O'Neill should have asked their permission before leaving the county on official business.
Oh, boy.
Now, doesn't that sound a little political?
Yeah. Well, it's typical of what's going on now.
Yes. Well, since he hadn't done that, hadn't followed protocol, the cost of the pursuit was his responsibility, the board told him.
Uh-huh.
Well, now, the real reason was because they were all members or cronies of the railroad barons. That was the real reason. So O'Neill sued the county, went to the courts and all this and that, and basically when everything was said and done, he got no money. So it was basically out of his own pocket. Well, as time went on, he ran for Congress, but he was defeated, but he continued to serve as sheriff, and there were several more times that he actually pursued fugitives out of the county and caught them. But none of these chases were as long and spectacular as the one that started at Diablo Canyon Station. Well, when he finally gave up the badge, he moved to Tombstone, Arizona, and edited the newspaper for a while. Now, about this time, this is about 1898, the Spanish-American War broke out. Now, Bucky O'Neill was one of the first volunteers from Arizona, and he became a captain in the Arizona troop of Teddy Roosevelt's famous Rough Riders.
I'll be.
And I think we've all heard of them.
Sure.
And so he went to Cuba and served with distinction in Cuba. And this is kind of where we get a bit of a sad ending here. As his men lay in a trench near the city of Santiago there in Cuba, Bucky entertained them by reciting Walt Whitman's poem, Captain, My Captain. Well, he got carried away by what he was doing, and Bucky kind of lifted himself a bit too far from the trench, and he ignored a warning voiced by one of his men. A second later, a shot rang out as a Spanish sniper fired, and the bullet struck O'Neill in the head, killed him instantly. So O'Neill was buried at first there on the island, but later his body was moved to Arlington National Cemetery. Now, in Prescott, Arizona, and I've never been there, but I think you probably have.
Yes, I have.
There's a statue that was sculpted by a guy named Solon Borglum. Now, this is the brother of the sculptor who did Mount Rushmore.
I see.
But he sculpted had this statue, and it was to honor the Arizona Rough Riders. But this statue of a horseman was intended to represent all the Rough Riders. But because of Bucky O'Neill's reputation, it was so great, he was so respected in Arizona, that over the years it has become known as the Bucky O'Neill Monument. And it's a fitting tribute for one of Arizona's greatest lawmen and a sheriff who, when he started after an outlaw, he never gave up the chase.
You know, I honestly, at a certain part of the story, I thought you were going to say that when he did not get paid or reimbursed for bringing the prisoners back, even though he had to cross county and state lines, I honestly thought that you were going to possibly say that, okay, old Bucky turned around, and the next day he turned the prisoners loose, and he kept the money and split it with the other guys, and they lived happily ever after.
You know, it would be rightfully so, wouldn't it? Really? Yep. I mean, he had $7,000 in cash.
Yeah.
Plus they said a considerable amount of jewelry that was worth who knows how much. Maybe you're talking $10,000 to $14,000 worth of money and goods. You know, and here he was, dedicated to his job, trying to do what was right, going against the political cronies of the railroad at the time, which were again, kind of showing their strength and doing whatever they wanted to do.
Well, I'll tell you why I said that. You earlier in the story, you said that he had a problem and a confrontation with some folks over water, so he went and got a bunch of Navajo Indians and just showed up and basically called their hand and won. And I honestly thought you were going to say, okay, he didn't get paid and reimbursed, and so he just called their hand and won. He let the cowboys go, he kept the money, and lived happily ever after. I thought really that's what you were going to say.
Well, you know, and a lesser man would have done that.
Yeah.
And how many times do we see that where lawmen do get a little disgruntled with the situation, and they do turn to be outlaws.
Yeah. But there again, that was one of the best stories I've heard in a long time, Dr. History. You have done it again.
Well, thank you, Zeb. I just hope the people enjoy these stories, and again, those that are out there, these foreign countries or in our good old United States, I hope that, you know, if you like our stories, tell your friends, and get us on dr-history.com, and you can listen to any or all of the stories. We've got about 20 of them on there now, I think. So just tune in anytime you want and listen to these stories.
All right, well, I'll tell you what. You deserve a treat today, so stop over to the Chadwick and have some pork saltimbocca.
I can't wait. Okay. That sounds great.
Hey, God bless you, man. Thanks so much for being on the program again. Dr. Ken Turner, known as Dr. History. Great job today. Appreciate it.
You have a good day, Zach.
All right, thank you. Don't forget, dr-history.com. You can listen in anywhere in the world. Really, really interesting. Let's not forget our friends at Harris Plumbing NG. They are absolutely phenomenal for all your plumbing service needs. When you need a plumber, call them. One call, that's all. It's all done. They'll take care of you. 431-8633. Let me repeat that number. 431-8633. Excellent service, reliable, responsible, and very professional. I am impressed. Harris Plumbing NG, again, 431-8633. Once again, I want to remind sugar beet growers, yes, sirree, we've got a product to talk about, and it's Preaxor, the best from BASF, the newest form of chemistry for sugar beets to fight disease and potentially increase yield and sugar content for your sugar beets. Preaxor contains headline and a new compound called Xemium that also provides excellent control of powdery mildew. And don't forget, too, with the application of BASF's Preaxor 45 to 60 days prior to harvest, you have the potential of higher yields and more sugar content in your sugar beets. Contact your local ag chem supplier today, and for more information, call BASF's Ron Ellis at 431-6776 or Tim Perry at 844-06 6682. Don't forget BASF's Preaxor for your better sugar beets. We're going to send this back to our main studios in just a moment, but I want to remind everybody, Lincoln County Fair and Rodeo, my goodness sakes, this Saturday night they're going to have that great big ranch rodeo at 7 p.m. right there at the fairgrounds in Shoshone. Don't miss that. And then, of course, they're going to next week, the main thrust of the Lincoln County Fair and Rodeo prevails. They're going to have 4-H and FFA horse shows, barrel racing, horse pulling contests on the 23rd, junior rodeos on the 24th, and then the IMPRA rodeo on the 25th and 26th, and then on July 27th, antique tractor pull. All of this and more at the 2014 Lincoln County Fair and Rodeo up in Shoshone. Don't you miss it. We'll be back right after this.
And now, back to Zeb at the Ranch on AM 1230 KBAR. To reach Zeb, call 436-2244 or toll free 1-866-927-4587. And now, here is Zeb Bell.
Oh my, what a great morning. And a little warm outside, going to be warm for the rest of this week. And as a matter of fact, in about 15 minutes or so, we'll have an update with Michael Rogers Weather, so stay tuned for that. And right now we're going to go to the phone line, and I believe we have our guest with us. And I really look forward to having this gentleman on the air. He's an editor for Young Voices, and Casey Given is his name, and he does a wonderful job of not only being on programs, but also helping line up other people come on and visit about various subjects. Casey Givens, good morning to you, man. How are you?
Good morning, Zeb. It's great to be here with you.
Where are you right now, Casey? What town are you in?
I'm in the nation's capital, Washington, D.C.
Washington, D.C., and summer in Washington can be very, very hot and humid. What's the weather back there right now?
Oh, yeah, it's extremely hot. Let me look up the temperature. It's just been 90s and very humid today. Yeah, it's currently 87 degrees and very, very humid. I was actually, I was just in your neck of the woods last week, Zeb, out in Idaho, and I really miss that because it's a dry heat as opposed to here where it's, I walk down the street and have pools of sweat on my shirt.
Absolutely. Well, listen, Casey, the next time you come to Idaho, we're going to have to demand that you come here in the studio and do the show with us live, and then we'll go out and have a big old steak dinner. But one of the subjects that I'm very interested in on this program is education and the bettering of education for our youngsters all across the United States. And basically, you wrote an article that was stated simply, time to end teacher tenure. Why would you say that, and what are your beliefs on that subject?
Yes, absolutely, Zeb. So this is kind of a movement that's been gathering across the country, that there's been several different states, students in several different states that have been challenging teacher tenure. Just recently, my native California, actually, students from California challenged in court the teacher tenure system, claiming that it was so easy for teachers to get tenure and so hard for bad teachers to get fired that it was unconstitutional. And they actually won in the California State Supreme Court. So now the state of California has to redo their tenure model. And this is recently also, because of the victory there, New York across the country are also students there are similarly challenging their teacher tenure system. And we've seen it just sprout up in different little spots. The city of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, for example, is also challenging this. So this could potentially be a national movement to end teacher tenure and have a more competitive system where administrators and principals have greater oversight over good teachers and bad teachers.
Well, Casey, at one time in our nation's history with our education system, wasn't it a good thing to have tenure offered to the teachers?
Yeah, absolutely. And, the history of tenure. So tenure was basically invented in the late 18th century or 19th century because of a lot of discrimination that teachers faced. So teachers could be fired back then. for things as little as wearing pants instead of skirts, since they were mostly women back in the day. So it was passed kind of back then as a progressive way to protect teachers. But of course, today, in today's world, fast forward 2 centuries later, where there's so many protections already ingrained into law for against all of these kind of arbitrary firings that couldn't fly today, there's really no reason to have teacher tenure as much anymore.
So you think that the gist of this is that we would be increasing quality of education by eliminating tenure and possibly using this word create a more competitive atmosphere, right?
Absolutely. The way the system is today, Zeb, and this is really for most state and local school districts across the country, is that it's nearly impossible to fire a bad public school teacher because they're tenured and they basically have a job for life. So there's limited options that, say, principals can do to get rid of a bad teacher. They might transfer them to another school district so that they're another school problem. But that ultimately doesn't solve the problem. That means that we're just shifting bad teachers around. Some places have actually gotten even desperate, like New York City, where they actually have what are called rubber rooms, where bad teachers accused of misconduct, literally get paid for sitting in a room all day and doing nothing. There was an article that came out just yesterday about how there are teachers getting paid 6 figures in New York City in these rubber rooms, just sitting around doing nothing. So this is a really inefficient way and really bad for teacher quality. So if we eliminate teacher tenure or scale it down, it could really boost the quality of education in America.
We have a caller with a question for you, Casey, regarding this teacher tenure. Stand by. Caller, go ahead, please. You're on the air.
Isn't there any way to change the system so that the teachers that are doing good and need the tenure can have it, but be able to cut the ones out that aren't doing the good job?
That is an excellent question. I'll have him answer that on the air. Thank you very much, sir. I appreciate that. Go ahead, Casey. Answer that. I think it's a fair question.
Absolutely. It's a very good question. And I think that, I've kind of, at least in my article, proposed the more radical solution of eliminating teacher tenure. But there absolutely is a middle road. For example, there's states can pass more rigorous evaluations where, say, a teacher's performance is judged by how much their classroom has improved in test scores over the year, and also through things like student and parent surveys. So there can be more rigorous evaluation methods. Could also be a way to reward teachers with tenure, good teachers with tenure. And also another possible moderate solution is to increase the number of years a teacher has to perform well to get teacher tenure. Currently, the average is only 3 years, so only 3 years of teaching and a teacher gets tenure. Perhaps states and local governments can bump that up to, say, 10, 15 years or so. I mean, this is the protocol in higher education where adjunct professors have to work their butts off and have to publish to get tenure for years or even decades. And so maybe this should also be the protocol in K-12 public education.
Casey, let me ask you this. With the inception and the promotion and the propulsion of Common Core into our school system and everybody really pushing Common Core, how does this, the new teaching of Common Core, affect teachers and your concept on ending teacher tenure?
Yeah, so that's definitely interesting to bring Common Core into it. I think it's certainly a little scary that if we have teachers that are tenured I'm trying to think how to tie Common Core into this, but I think that teacher tenure. This is something that teachers, if we, since Common Core is really kind of decreasing the quality of education in America, with teacher tenure, the two of them combined could really just be a dangerous combination. So that's really why we need teacher tenure reform and possibly eliminating it, so we can have principals and administrators kind of better ways for them to judge teacher tenure, instead of having both, one, poor qualities with Common Core, and two, a poor employment system through tenure that only stagnates and locks teachers and bad teachers into place.
Do you think that we're on an uphill climb for the betterment of education, or now with these stories about teachers that have abused the right to stay hired by school districts and teacher tenure, Common Core, etc., are we on the downhill side? You are not that far removed from education yourself as far as being a younger age. What are your thoughts about where we are in the education system in America today?
You know, that's a great question, Zeb. And I'm actually, as much as, with a lot of pundits like to just predict doom and gloom with education, I think it's kind of a mixed bag. So on the one hand, we see a lot of negative things, like Common Core, like teacher tenure, like stagnating test scores across the country. But on the other hand, we're seeing some great reforms, like school choice.
And we lost Casey.
Homeschooling.
There he is.
I think that it's a mixed bag, and really now with this movement and teacher tenure, there could really be hope. But it really depends on parents getting engaged and fighting for their rights to have greater choice over their child's education.
You know, you just said the bottom line right there as far as I'm concerned. You know, we can sit here and we can condemn or we can tear apart education. We can suggest this. We can say this is wrong, etc. But we need to get parents back involved in the education system. We need them to attend the school meetings. We need them to attend meetings with the school board. We need to have them sit down with the principals and talk to the teachers about how their children are going and how they're doing in the education, whether it's math, history, whatever. Until we get parental responsibility on the increase, I don't think education is going to improve in this country.
Absolutely, and like I said, there's really kind of two movements happening. There's one really federal government movement to centralize education, but a lot of states and parents and local schools have started pushing back and really doing some really great reforms. So it's really for education to be successful in America and to improve the quality of K through 12 education. It really is up to parents, teachers, and students and the local actors to get involved and get active in their education and participate for the better of the country.
Absolutely. Casey, you always do a great job for us. We appreciate it and appreciate your information this morning, and we'll have you back on the air. You can know that in a couple of weeks. You do a wonderful job. Casey Givens, thank you so much, and God's blessings. We'll call you.
Thanks, Sam. Great to talk to you.
Same here, my friend. Thank you very much. Talking about time to end teacher tenure. Casey Givens, editor for Young Voices back in Washington, D.C. Holy cow, we've got to have a weather forecast here with MichaelRogersWeather.com, and it's brought to you this hour by Scarro's Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome, selling taste one bite at a time. Locally owned custom meat processor for over 20 years. Oh, you've got to try that marinated tri-tip. Oh, it's good. Scarro's Meats. Here right now is Michael Rogers Weather.
Hello, everyone. Michael Rogers with Zeb at the Ranch. Another hot day for today. The red flag warning has been lifted by the National Weather Service in Boise. But it's still pretty hot and it's still pretty dry. Now, the good news is you're going to go from, let's see, your high yesterday was 104. The high in Jerome was 102. You're going to cool off today. How about this? This is exciting. You're going to cool off to 97. Yeah, 97. You're going to stay in the 90s all the way through the weekend. No thunderstorms in the forecast, but as I shared with you before, because of the thunderstorm pattern and the moisture coming up from the south around Phoenix, wouldn't be surprised if you got one, because it just starts to meander right up toward our area, and it gets really hot, and those clouds begin to form, and it'll dump. And that's what will happen. Even though it's not in the forecast, that's a normal summertime pattern.
in the Magic Valley of South Central Idaho. Have a great day. Enjoy the weather. The only weather you got.
Thank you, Michael. Appreciate it. MichaelRogersWeather.com, and brought to you this hour by Scarrows Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome, 324-7657. As I said, and it's the truth, they're selling taste one bite at a time. Gina, have you heard the album by John Wayne back in 1977 called America, Why I Love Her?
I've heard bits and pieces.
Oh, there are so many songs, if you want to call them songs, on there, but he basically, does his information through speaking instead of singing on the album. And we used many of the songs, if you will, at openings of various rodeos. My dear friend, Carl Clark, sent me an excerpt from one of the songs that I really wasn't that familiar with on this album, America, Why I Love Her, and it's about our American flag, and I'd like to read that at this time, and I want to say up front, Carl Clark, thank you so much for sending this, because I think right now, just following the 4th of July and our Independence Day, this really means something, so here we go. Face the flag, son, and face reality. Our strengths and our freedoms are based in unity. The flag is but a symbol, son, of the world's greatest nation. And as long as it keeps flying, there's cause for celebration. So do what you've got to do, but always keep in mind, a lot of people believe in peace, but there are the other kind. If we want to keep these freedoms, we may have to fight again. God forbid, but if we do, let's always fight to win. For the fate of a loser is futile and it's bare. No love, no peace, just misery and despair. Face the flag, son, and thank God it's still there. John Wayne. I love that. I really do, Gina. That means a lot. That means a lot.
Okay, and we have one little clip, and I'm not sure exactly that's the same one, but it's America the Good by John Wayne.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, have you got that so you can play it real quick?
Yeah.
Yeah, just a real short clip. He was a great American, and that album, America, Why I Love Her, I've got it upstairs someplace, and I ought to try to find that, bring it over to you, and then we can play excerpts of it if we need to, in case you don't have the whole thing.
Oh, please do. Okay, I'm going to play this one. I don't know what it says, but this is America the Good.
All right, John Wayne.
We hear a lot about war or hurricanes that hit our shore. We hear a lot about hard times and a good deal more about the crimes that make the front pages of our news. But all that does is sing the blues about America. Now, one of the good things in our lives about the men who love their wives, who take their kids when they go fishing, spend their working days just wishing to make things better. A fireman who climbs a tree and sets a little kitten free. A policeman who helps you cross the avenue. A man who stops when you're broken down and asks if you need a lift to town, or simply says, "Friend, what can I do?" Have you stopped at a grocery store and watched a kid who spit out more than a 5 or 10 cent piece can chew? He needs just 2 cents or 3 to get that soda pop, you see, and you get that feeling? Why not? And you come through. And how about on a Sunday morning, the sun's up high and the day is morning and church bells break the stillness of the sky. All your neighbors and your friends climb in the family car.
Oh, yeah.
So to church. Never question why.
You know, I love that.
And you look at the USA, the folks at work, their kids at play, and looking back you see how hard they've tried to keep this country free and strong. And somehow you've known all along the answer's here, right in your own backyard. For as long as you believe in love and faith, hope, God above, the future of this land of ours is strong. most of it feel just that way, and that's the truth. So let us say, America can't be so very wrong.
I love it, Gina. Thank you. America can't be very wrong. You know, there's so many things in that little song that he mentioned that a lot of people today might consider corny. I consider the real America, as he talks about families getting together and going to a church service on Sunday morning and the sun shining on the church steeples and everything. And, you know, so many times growing up, and this might have been before your time, but I saved a lot of the covers of Saturday Evening Posts. And, you know, Norman Rockwell was excellent at creating the image of America on that cover.
Yes, he was. Yes, he was. I love Norman Rockwell. As a matter of fact, we have a calendar up here that features a lot of the Norman Rockwell art.
Well, you know, and the thing I like about that song and the entire album, America Why I Love Her, and thank you, Carl Clark, I appreciate you sending this over to me, is the entire album is a pride, a kind of a tingly sense of pride in our great United States of America. And I think every single school child, I don't care if they're first grade all the way to seniors in high school, they should listen to that tape. They should have to write some kind of a theme regarding the verbiage about America and John Wayne. And, you know, we need more people like John Wayne. I've said that for a long time. It's too bad he's passed because we need more people like him.
Amen. And, you know, one of the favorite things that he did, that he recorded, was the hyphenated American.
Yes.
I loved that one.
You know,
got a phone call.
Tomorrow, maybe we could play that when we have some more time. Let's try to do that, okay?
Okay.
All right. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Hi, Zeb. How are you?
I'm fantabulous. How are you?
How was the weather in Elko?
It was cooler. It was a lot cooler down there. The rodeo was exceptionally good. On Friday night, it rained a little bit, but it just kind of cooled things off all the more. We even had to put a jacket on. But it was excellent. The people down there, they gave me a beautiful pair of trophy spurs for announcing their rodeo, and it was very, very nice.
Well, I'm glad. You know, you're talking, well, this thing you just played from John Wayne, and you know, you were talking about the Saturday Evening Post or whatever magazine that was.
Yep.
And Norman Rockwell, I had the opportunity to buy a whole bunch of framed pictures of those, and I got them hanging on my wall. And it, you know, we just don't know how great we were, and not arrogant as a country. We were thoughtful and forgiving, and proof of this is the fact that we have been tolerating the abuse by this administration for 5.5 years, and the tolerance of the American people, the forgiveness, the depth of their forgiveness is just seems to see no bound. And as I was last night, I've heard it before, but last night they repeated again how Bowe Bergdahl wrote such terrible, hateful things about this country that gave his parents an opportunity to have freedom and him an opportunity to grow up in it, and how he turned his back on it, and the hatred, and how people have died, whether or not they were trying to save him or find him or elsewhere. And I say to myself, you know, this kind of lack of appreciation, attitude of gratitude towards what we have is so repulsive to me. I'm quite frankly sick to death of it.
I'm at a point in my life, Randy. I'm at a point in my life, and I've got to hurry along here because I got a Les Schwab spot I got to do. But I'm at a point in my life where I don't have to, nor will I, accept any of these bad thoughts or bad wishes for America. I'm going to try to put back into shape and form what America was when I was growing up, because as I say at the end of the program, the way things were are the way things ought to be, and nobody is going to prove me wrong on that. Randy, God bless you for your call, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks, Deb.
Thank you, sir. Don't forget your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you. Easy credit plans available, and don't forget the best tires in the industry. All the different tread designs for your cars, pickups, SUVs, horse trailers, boat trailers. They've got them all, along with the best in brake service. I mean that. Front end alignment, shocks and struts, batteries. It's all there for you with easy credit plans available at your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers with Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, John on Poline in Twin Falls, and Randy on Overland and Burley. The best, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. By the way, we got a note from Brogan over at the Chadwick. Saltimbocca is an Italian dish, translating literally to jump in the mouth, referring to how delicious it is, and it's delicious. Absolutely phenomenal. Now we know what saltimbocca is. Thank you, Brogan, for sending us that note. We are going to wrap things up for today and put it back in the box, open it up again tomorrow morning at 8:06, ride the horse for 3 hours, Zeb at the Ranch, right here on KBAR 1230 and streaming live all over the universe on ZebBell.com. Don't forget to tune us in. The way things were are the way things ought to be. God bless. We'll see you tomorrow morning.